Okay, well enough. Let's do it.
Cool.
Welcome to Untitled Car Project. I'm Rob Spring.
Jeremy Molt.
Grant Gonzalez is not with us today. That's the sound of an ice-cold beer being cracked open. Grant's on vacation in Mexico. Today, we've got Max Essig. Hey, Max.
Howdy, y'all.
Howdy. You've got Ian Fike.
Nice to be on here. Thank you.
Nice to have you here. We're going to talk there about their projects. And, I was telling the guys, Ian, about you drift.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
But I don't know whether to call it drift racing, drift competing. How do you classify it?
Well, drifting in general, what most of us do at the level I'm doing it at is it's just called drifting in the sense that there's no race per se.
Yeah.
The only sort of competition that I would do is there's these team events where you show up with your friends and you say we're a team and you drive together and it's based off the style that you drive with the team, and then you're scored on those points. But I don't do that. I just drive by myself. I do have friends I drift with, but it's basically there's no points involved. It's just to have fun.
Okay, all right.
And that's what I'm doing.
So when they do a team drift competition, there's judges involved.
There is.
So it's a judged competition.
Yes,
basically.
it is. Yep.
Okay. I've always wondered how it works. I mean, I see a lot of that stuff. I get a lot of it in my social media and that kind of stuff. And the talent is extreme. It's awesome.
Yeah.
But I don't understand it at all.
Well, I'll give you a little rundown on it. Basically, it's based on speed, angle, entry, and how you clip the corner, essentially, like where the cars touch the first part of the corner and how they exit, and it's about how close the cars are staying together.
Okay.
And how they react to one another, if they look in unison or not, basically.
Oh wow.
So it's all style based.
Yeah.
And so it can completely change from team to team, and it's super fun. I love watching team events, but I haven't been on a team in a number of years. I did used to do it when I lived in Denver, but now me and my friends, we will tandem with each other. That's what it's called when two cars are together. I'll do that still, but basically I'm just doing this for fun.
Yeah.
And it's, but it's still a lot of people would like to say drifting's not a motorsport. Well, that's silly. I mean, you show up.
On a motorsport.
It is a motorsport. I mean, yes, we're not getting, prize money per se, or there's sponsorship involved, which there is at the professional level. But, it's basically you show up to have fun. Yeah. And it's kind of like people judge you on your driving.
Yeah.
So it's peer assessed and peer judged motorsport. So I have my friends and I watch other people drive, and then we'll look at a guy and we're like, man, that guy's a sick driver.
Wow.
His style, his speed, his finesse. You can see when somebody's, not in tune with their car, and then you can see when somebody's on it and they have it. And, and that's the bragging points. That's the bragging rights.
Okay. So when you go out and do you run in class? Is there a specified class for different cars, or?
There are, but not at my level. Okay. Basically, I mean, at the level I'm drifting at, you will see pro guys show up.
Yeah.
Guys from Formula Drift will show up to practice in their personal car or sometimes their pro car. And then they're drifting with guys or girls that are just starting. Yeah. I mean, they're on the same track. They're doing the same thing.
Interesting.
But yeah. I mean, it's completely, we call it grassroots drifting, right? It's just
out there to have a good time.
Just out there to have fun.
And you guys are running 200 treadwear tires too, so they're sticky.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on your power level, right? But yes, I mean, what I'm running now is as sticky as I can afford, basically, because I am burning them up, right? I'm not trying to buy, Pilot 2s, or some fancy tire that I'm going to burn up. Yeah. I've tried to find a middle ground that's a good treadwear rating, very sticky, still a summer tire, but it's not going to break the bank.
That's interesting, because I did want to get into that. The whole tire situation to me is you got to go through a set in a weekend.
Oh,
just
far more
in
than
one event, more than one set.
Yeah, if you want to drive all weekend, at the power level I'm running now and the alignment I have now, it's at least 3 pairs to 4 pairs.
Okay.
So
And
Yeah, that's a lot.
You're not replacing the fronts too, just the rears.
the fronts you will have to replace from time to time. It depends on the track. The track is very dependent on that. Like, you know, if a track's got great asphalt and it's a great tarmac, or it's you know, they treat it or whatever, yeah, you can run fronts all weekend, especially if your alignment's good. But if it's not, if your alignment sucks, like a lot of guys do their own alignment. These are just track toys for them.
Right.
And they will, you know, they'll chew through front tires, especially if the track, you know, condition is not very good.
Less than stellar, yeah.
Right. But I can run fronts all weekend. Yeah.
That's amazing. I mean, that gets expensive. I complain about going through 2 sets of tires a year. But
Yeah.
I only run 8 events. Maybe,
Right.
You know.
And that's where I'm trying to find that balance of good price versus tire. And there are some out there like the Otani. It's a Thai made, and it's a BM 1000. I know there's going to be some drifters listening to this that'll be like, yeah, that's the money spot. It's very affordable. I mean, you can get a full set for $300.
Wow.
And they rock. They don't delaminate. That's another thing you have to worry about. Is you know, I've had Continentals, brand new pair that I bought that day on the way to the track, and they'll delaminate and they're trash within 3 laps.
Oh, wow.
Because they're not heat cycled. They're not, you know, but the price tag said they were going to be good, but for drifting it's different. So we play with all sorts of stuff, you know, the cheapest Chinese tires we can find, and then like the mid-level tires, like Federal make some great tires, but yeah, we just try to find the happy medium of price and performance.
What size tire, especially on the rear? What size are you running?
Now I'm running a 255 40 18.
Okay.
I just finished up an LS3 swap, and I had an LS1 for years before, and with the LS1, you know, I made a conservative 360 something wheel, which I was happy with. It performed really good, but I didn't have my rear camber set up very well. It was pretty negative. It was like 7 or 8 degrees.
Oh, that's quite a bit.
Because I lowered the car so much, so it was the natural degrees of camber. Now I've leveled that out to 0, and with the LS3, it's another, you know, 85 horsepower. And after I did the swap, got it running, I was like, I have no traction, even in the dry. Like I needed, it was just, for the setup for 215. I mean, that's so small.
Oh, that's really small.
So yeah, with 255, I found it a very, very happy medium. Feels planted and smokes great. That's another thing, right? Like you want some smoke, right? Yeah. I mean, it's not all for show, but it's feel too. It feels good. But 255 in the rear, and I'm running 235 up front.
Okay. Oh, okay. Interesting. Yeah, I've always wondered about that. Like,
and
that was really one of my biggest things about the drifting. What tires do you actually use? What do you go for? I mean, $300 a set.
Yeah,
for 2, right?
No, you can get a full set, all 4 Otani BM 1000s for like 325 shipped.
God,
and
mine are 500 a piece.
My front tires are really nice, right? Like I have Nitto N1S on the front because they last long, and I can run those, and they last long enough.
Okay,
but you know, in the rears, man, I mean, I just want something that works. Yeah. And it feels good. But basically, the tires, like the setup I have now, is just as big as I can fit.
Yeah,
I just did a wide body steel fender. That's how I fit the 255s.
Okay. Well, that's the other thing. It's like we just jumped right into it. You know, no setup. But what kind of car are you running?
It's a 2005 Lexus IS300. I bought it for $1,200 off Facebook Marketplace. It was an auto, like most of them come, which was fine because I planned on doing something like this. And then about 4 years ago, and it was very beat up. I mean, the body was just hammered.
Yeah. Probably not going to expect much for $1,200.
No, right. But I always was like, okay, it's gonna be another drift car. I've built other drift cars before, but this one, you know, I was like, this is only my track toy. So but now I swapped 4 years ago to an LS1 and a T56 out of a 2002 Camaro SS, and that power plant did great for me.
Yeah.
I never had an issue with reliability whatsoever. And it's, headers, exhaust, pretty simple, stock, stock injectors, everything else like that. So it felt great.
Yeah.
But my vision for the car was always an LS3.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, I just happened upon an LS1 for cheap. So flash forward to last year, a friend of mine, Matt Pham, asked me if I wanted to buy a 59 Bel Air from him. And I was like, I think those are ugly. It's a 1 year car. It has the canted taillights. They're huge. It's a boat.
Yeah, it's a big car.
And I was like, no, not really. And then he goes, well, it has an LS3 in it. And I was like, okay. Well, for
a little more interested.
Right. And I was like, okay, well, for what price? And he gave me a price. And I was like, okay, I'll buy it.
All right. Yeah.
So
it's good for the motor alone.
It was great. And I sold the auto 6-speed trans for like $1,000. I mean, I tried every build I do is a budget build, right? I'm trying to save money.
Yeah, yeah.
Just like the rest of us. And anyways, I sold my motor to my buddy, Vinny. Well, I didn't sell it, but we came up with a deal.
Mm-hmm. So
I gave him my LS1. We sold the Bel Air for a good price, and I got the LS3, and it was I still got money out of it. I actually made $500.
Nice.
So yeah. Aside from that, it's a T56 stock out of the Camaro from 2002. I had to run a funky clutch setup to make it work, but it performs. Yeah. I mean, 430 horse out of the box. It's untuned, and it feels great.
Is that plenty for you? Do you need to do more?
Oh yeah. I mean, when I went from the LS1 to the LS3, I was shocked at how much more it compounds from 360 wheel to 430.
Well, and where's your torque though? It probably makes a difference for drifting with where you're putting the power down, right?
It does, and the gear set I'm running is a 410, which is honestly too much right now. I wish I had longer gears.
Oh well.
With the LS1, it was perfect.
Yeah. And
with the LS3, they're just too short. I don't have enough gear.
Okay.
So definitely a thing I do in the future is put like a 3.7 or 3.9, which was available in that car. Yeah. And just different models.
So it's the stock rear end then?
No, I put the rear end from a 2014 Subaru BRZ.
Oh wow.
So the FRS, and then the BRZ, that's the same diff. They just made a different gear set, and they're brand new. I got it with like 20,000 miles.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's a common swap. It bolts right in. You just swap your half shafts, and
that's cool.
And it's brand new diff, and they're cheap.
Yeah.
You can find them for dirt cheap.
Budget building.
I bought it for $150.
Oh wow.
And when I got it from the junkyard, it looked brand new.
That's amazing.
And so
Have you grenaded one yet?
I did. You know what's funny? I was just thinking about that. The breather cap on the first one, which was also a BRZ diff, it blew off when I was drifting on track.
Yeah.
So all my gear oil
came out.
Yeah, came out on the track. So everybody.
Yeah, but that was a mess.
Everybody was pissed at me. They're like, "What? You're leaking oil?" I'm like, "No, I'm not. Like everything's fine."
Yeah.
No, and then we look under, and it's falling out, and the track it was at a park in Canby. Rest in peace. They're not doing drift events in there anymore, unfortunately.
Thanks to the oil.
Because the county, the county shut them down for noise, and the whole community.
That Pat's Acres?
Yeah.
Oh man,
it's a bummer. We were all heartbroken still, but I shut it down for like an hour because gear oil is like honey.
Oh, terrible.
Oh yeah.
So I did grenade one, but at $150 to $200, I mean.
Not too bad.
Yeah.
Not too bad.
As long as you're not doing it every event, right?
No. And ever since I put this one in, I haven't had an issue. I'm at like 12 to 15 events deep now, and it's just holding up. Yeah.
That's cool. Wow. There are ways to build cheap. You just got to find the right parts out of the right cars.
Yeah.
Kind of. We talked about this last week, actually, about that episode will air, hasn't aired, whatever. The junkyard parts. Yeah. I mean that's right there. That's how you build cars on the cheap. You go figure out what parts you need from what car and go find it in a junkyard.
Yeah, I mean the beauty is Toyota didn't change a whole lot between like 3 different cars, and they produced them for years, so there's plenty of them.
Yeah.
And they were in the business of selling more cars and not making bespoke parts. So
Sure.
you find what fits, you put a different bushing in it, new half shaft, and it works.
Yeah, that's
which
really
I
cool.
which I appreciate.
Absolutely. Yeah. Anytime you can figure out what makes that change. And sometimes it just takes somebody knowing what it takes. They'll build that adapter, quote unquote adapter, to make this other part work, and you can find those things pretty readily.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Nice.
So just we'll move away from that for just a second because I want to touch on Max's multiple projects.
Pile of them.
So the one that I was really thinking of you about is your Subie build.
The Sedona Red Pearl 02.
The Bug Eye.
The Bug Eye.
Yeah. Tell me about the origination of that car.
Kind of a long story, a little funny. I ended up buying that car after I wrecked my Mark IV GTI. Had the 1.8 slow. I decided it was time to go boosted and all-wheel drive. I did a little bit of research. I landed on a GD chassis Subaru. Well, budget beholding, I had to jump back down to the 02, the 2-liter WRX. It was first year of them in America. They hadn't released the STI here quite yet, but that was always my vision, was this EJ207 boosted car. I grew up watching rally, and just in my head it was Colin McRae's machine.
Oh, nice.
This is what I wanted to build.
I can envision that, yeah.
And despite them not being offered in the US, I had to set about it. It turned into just a mess. I bought a car that was in rough shape, put all kinds of time, money, and effort into the body. It was a Sedona Red Pearl car, which I found particularly interesting once I peeled the plastic that was on it off.
No.
Found that to be in bad shape. Had to completely redo body and paint. Got the thing put back together, and it just kind of snowballed from there. It was, I could change this. I could change that. It's one little thing after another.
Yep.
Before long, I purchased an 04 STI, knowing that on the third transmission, it's time to go to a 6-speed. I was tired of the glass 5s. Ended up building towards that. After that, I decided the suspension and brakes just weren't quite enough. The big Brumbos were great, but needed more work. So it was off to coilovers. The entire white line catalog sitting under this car.
Wow. Cool.
At that point, the motor's already out. Let's paint the engine bay. Let's redo the interior. Every little thing I could to just make this what I had in my head. And it's kind of snowballed into one of those almost forever projects.
Yeah.
I get the feeling it'll never be done, but we'll get there eventually.
So how long ago was that you actually started the project?
Oh, mercy. I think I bought this car in 2011 or 12.
Wow.
And it's just been a constant labor of love. In one variation or another, blown up in any of my garages. I'm on transmission 3, rear diff 2, third engine, second rebuild on the first one.
Yep.
It's been a monster, but we're getting there. I had an 04 parts car, like I was saying. I stripped the entire drivetrain out of it to convert 6-speed. I was front and rear subframes, the diffs, the transmission itself, all the linkage, all the knuckles, everything got upgraded to the big Brembos that were an STI option that never got offered on the 0203s.
Mm-hmm.
It's a piece by piece kind of build my own STI.
Wow. I mean, that's a really deep project. But I get what you mean, too. You get into it and you're like, well, I'm already here. What if I do this? Or you see something cool, whether you on another car or wherever you see it, and you're like, I could do that. That's really cool. My car's already torn apart. Let's go that direction.
Yes.
So, things change and morph into something else. When was the last time you drove the car?
Oh, mercy. Much I hate to say it, probably 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah.
It's when the last motor let go. I had it hopped up just a little too much, and I decided at that point I was going to get into show cars. So I had signed up for Hot Import Nights Portland. I'd rolled out to the event, and they've got a rule that says you can only get in the expo center if you've got less than a quarter tank of gas. Well, I was a fraction over, so I turned down Marine Drive, made my offshoot, decided, all right, pull down, pull back, I'll be there.
Yeah.
Now I let go of that thing and started grabbing gears, just rowing through them. 1, 2, 3, 4, everything felt good until I hit 4. I wish it had grenaded in fantastic fashion. If I'm honest, it power cut on me and didn't do much of anything. It just kind of coasted to the side of the road and wouldn't restart.
Oh, man.
Finally got it home, pulled apart the motor, started looking at it. And yeah, half of one of my main bearings was sitting in the oil pump.
Oh.
It's just one of those days.
Yeah.
So it didn't ruin the block?
Oh, the block is shot.
Is it?
The main bearing let go. I picked up half of it in the oil pickup tube.
It just went.
It's out of clearance. That 205 is no more.
Gotcha.
Which isn't the end of the world.
Yeah.
Kind of had my eye on building bigger, building badder. I was somewhere between 200 and 300 horse on the old setup, and I've always kind of wanted to be closer to the 4 to 5 on pump gas set.
Okay.
It's taken some doing. Unfortunately, with these EJs, one of the things I've run into is just you can't really touch one part of them. Mm-hmm. It's all supporting mods. Mm-hmm. If you want to change one thing, you're looking at 14 different parts to make the power you want and keep it together.
You keep it together is the big thing.
Yeah. And that's, I think, one of the big pitfalls with these cars. The EJs in particular are kind of finicky. And when they go, it's never just, all right, well, I'll swap one little thing. It's, all right, there it goes. I need a new short block.
Yeah. So have you picked up a new motor yet, or still on the hunt?
We'll call it on the hunt. Realistically, I've set my eye on the one I want. I've talked to a couple of manufacturers out here and builders about what I'm looking for. And to do what I want to do, make the numbers I really want to make, I'm looking at about 10 grand for the long block alone, much less whatever turbo setup I want to throw on it. Yeah. It's been one of those.
Is that a crate situation? You're going to buy a crate motor?
I don't believe so. I've looked into some of the crates, and there are great options out there. The Type RA blocks are pretty good for the money, especially out of the box. Yeah. But realistically, I'm looking to go closed deck. I want to go to a rotated turbo. I want to go to a mechanical fuel pump, do away with the electronics, and just make it able to support real power.
Wow. Okay. All right. What's your projected timeline? What do you think?
Oh, I'm hoping in the next 4 to 6 months to have the rest of my funds set aside for my long block. Mm-hmm. At that point, I'll get the motor in, I'll test fit it, get everything set for the car, and the only real gets from there is going to be sorting the fuel system and the turbo. Okay. For turbo, I've been looking at various options. It kind of depends if I want to go to a 2.5 block or stay on a 2.0. The 2.0s spin up a little faster than the 2.5s do. They make a little less power, but they're kind of a nice drive, honestly. They stay well within your power curve. They're very manageable. Okay. And especially with the new 6-speed and the shorter gear ratios, this is a car I'm hoping, to bring out to an autocross event and really just keep in the boost as long as I'm after it. I don't want to have to wait on the lag.
Yeah, you want to hit that boost early. Yep. Because autocross is so short, man. If you're waiting for it, by the time it hits boost, you're shutting it down.
You're already into the next corner. Yeah, there's just no point.
Yeah. Very good. What kind of clutch setup?
We're looking at an Essig Stage 3 twin disc clutch for it. Theory, it's rated for about 600, 700 horse. Okay. I'm looking to make a little less than that. We're hoping for about 5 on pump gas. If we're doing E85, which the flex fuel sensors at that point are kind of a joke. You're into it that deep, you might as well already. And on E85, that brings the potential all the way up towards about 6. Okay. And at 6, let's be honest, I'm going to run out of skill before I run out of power in that car.
Yeah. Is that, what size clutch is that? Twin disc, 7, 8?
Ooh.
8.5?
I want to say it's about an 8. Okay. I could be wrong on that. I have to check the specs.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember what mine was. I thought they were 7s.
Well, they're not stock. They're not. I mean, you're going to shave a lot of weight in that clutch setup. Yeah. So a stock clutch setup, even in a Subaru, is probably around 30 pounds.
35, I think, was the factory setup that I pulled out.
So if you put 8.5 in there with a flex plate, a lightweight flex plate or whatever, you're going to weigh about 25. Yeah. So you're gonna spool up a lot faster just in that alone. I mean, what are you running in yours?
My clutch setup is a McLeod Stage 3. It's still a single disc. I have a Lighten flywheel, and it's a 15-pound flywheel. Yeah. With the McLeod Stage 3, which is about a 6-pound setup. It's a very light pressure plate, so it's about 20 pounds overall.
Yeah, that's
So
pretty good.
it is. It feels fantastic. I mean, I feel like on a big torquey motor, you want a lighter flywheel, right?
Oh man, they spool up so quick.
Yeah, it feels better. It revs better. And then, if I was running a low power motor, I'd want a heavier flywheel just to feel whatever torque I had.
Yeah.
But yeah, the McLeod it's a killer clutch. I'm glad I went with it, and I have no complaints so far.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I run in my black car. I've got the 8.5 quartermaster.
Oh, cool.
It goes from a 50. I think the whole setup is 56 pound stock.
That's
down to 18 pounds.
Oh, it's nuts.
It's incredible.
That's really cool.
On the silver car, we run the 7.25. It's a 14 pound setup.
And yours is a Z06, right?
Correct.
C6.
Yeah.
Oh, I love those.
Yeah.
So cool.
Yeah, that just lightening that rotating mass up, it makes such a difference.
It does.
Spooling that car up.
God, it does, man. Yeah, I mean,
it brings it alive. Really,
it does.
Yeah.
And people talk shit like, "Oh, you don't need a lightened flywheel in these." I'm like, I feel like I do. It
If
feels
you've ever
good.
driven one, yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, with the LS based motor, I mean, it just feels right.
Yeah.
I mean, driving it stock, I had the stock flywheel in the LS1, and it just felt a little doggy.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And now it just feels alive, like you said. It's cool.
Very cool. So, Max, your whole saga, right? I mean, it's been years in the process of putting it together and tearing it back apart and breaking it, race it, break it, fix it, the whole thing, right?
Absolutely. That's
What
the game.
What do you see for car builds, and you too, Ian, like your car builds or even restoring a car? What are your pitfalls? What are you looking for? What do you know from doing this? What's your experience? What kind of pitfalls are you looking at you're falling into?
One of the biggest ones with this car in particular is just every time I've got it apart, I see something else. And rather than leave it be in a working condition, I go, it can be better. I can chase this. It's a rabbit hole.
Yeah.
And before long, you take out a motor, you're into it, paint an interior or a cage setup, get your harnesses on, get wider tires. It's like, none of this matters. This doesn't fix the motor.
Right.
But it makes me feel better. I'm still working on it. I'm
The
getting
pitfalls of that vision.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's there.
It's getting to that big hump that is the price tag of a motor setup.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's like a personal thing too, right? Because like a lot of guys will build a car and they don't care about certain things.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, I didn't. The body on my car wasn't straight. It was whatever, but I drove the hell out of it, and I drifted the shit out of it. It looked okay, excuse my language, but it wasn't my main concern, so I kind of overlooked it. Now I'm at the point in my build where I've been working on body and paint now for the last 5 months because I'm finally like, okay, I want this thing to look good too. And now that it's fast,
perform and look good doing it.
Yes, and I agree with Max where it's like I want to make it everything I want it to be now, but my biggest thing is I don't know. I mean, budget, right? Like, I always undershoot my budget. Like, I'll come up with a price in my head. I'm like, that's high, right? But it's always 25 to 50% more each project, right?
Right.
And then, I mean, along with all the suspension I've done in my car too, like Max was saying, every bushing, every arm, everything. But body and paint has been the absolute hardest thing I've ever done on a car.
It's
myself.
expensive too.
It is expensive.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Like, that's the most overshooting I've ever done on budget has been what I thought it was going to cost me versus what I'm into it now.
It's kind of crazy when you look at body paint and just aesthetics, how expensive those are compared to actual mechanical bits and pieces. Like, it blows me away.
Absolutely, dude.
Yeah.
And I think a good part of that is realistically the hours you've got into it. You're into a motor swap, 10 hours if things went poorly. By the time you're done sanding, blocking, reapplying Bondo, filling your low spots, getting the thing cleaned up and ready for a base coat, shoot your 100 hours into a project.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah,
true.
easily. Yeah.
And what's our time worth?
That's not including the trips to and from the store, right?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Or ordering online.
You're ordering it.
Your 25% isn't counting the fuel costs. It's not counting your hours to and from the parts store or anything like that.
Yep.
Yeah. It's
waiting for the delivery guy, the shipping,
chomping at the bit.
Wait a minute. If I order $100 more stuff, I get this free shipping.
Yeah, right.
So you do it.
I did that the other
You
night.
definitely do it.
Yeah.
And then another thing is too, I know probably all of us here work for a living.
Yeah.
So if something goes wrong and you have to redo something, you're down another week, or it sets you back another week because I can only
Really
do it
does.
on the weekends or nighttime, but that's not enough time.
Yeah, and nights are tough. Maybe you get an hour or so in. 'Cause
Exactly.
That's another one of my thoughts about that whole thing is balancing working on your hobby, your car, your project, and the family.
Mhm.
Because you got a family, don't you?
I have a son,
Yeah.
and I am newly single, ladies. So just putting that out there.
We'll put
Absolutely.
pictures
But,
on for you.
my mom lives nearby. I have a ton of friends and family that are close to me, so I'm always being asked to, hey, come over, let's
Do
have
something.
dinner,
Yeah,
something,
yeah. The
right?
personal life side.
It's totally
Yeah.
it's that exactly. So I do find it difficult to balance. It's like my buddy Greg wants me to help him swap his Civic next weekend. And he's been asking forever and I'm like, okay, I'll do it,
Yeah.
But in my head, I thought I was going to be done with this leg of my car. So
Sure.
now I'm trying to manage how much can I put into it this week and still do everything else I want to do
Right.
this week
Yeah, and help your buddy still.
and still help my buddy. So, I find it, depending on where I'm at in the car, but in the last year, I've found it extremely difficult to balance life and this
Absolutely.
project.
Well, and you probably have kind of a deadline. You've got events you want to go to,
Correct.
right? So
Yeah.
you're staring down a date going, how am I going to make that?
Yes.
I do the same thing.
Yep.
Because everybody, myself included, over the winter, you're like, I've got car projects.
Yes.
I worked on some of them, but I waited,
Oh, yeah.
till, okay, I got to get this done.
Yeah.
I got it done in time, but some of my other friends, not so much. They're like, well, Grant, for instance.
Grant's still waiting on wheels.
Oh yeah, well, he didn't get his side skirts painted and put on and this and that, but he was up really late nights doing that just because of procrastination a little
Yeah,
bit. Well, he's
for sure.
busy with life, but
Yeah.
same for you, Max.
Yeah.
It's like, how do you got to go to work every day?
Oh shoot! I spent the last year and a half working in Medford, 300 and something miles from my house.
Right.
It makes it real hard to get in the garage
Yep.
and turn around.
Yep,
It
being
sucks.
away, it leaves it. Not only is there no personal life, but the working on the hobbies and the projects takes a back seat.
It does.
Really
It
does.
always will.
Yeah.
Working out of town and trying to work on a project is nearly impossible.
Yeah. And you save it for the weekend, and then at the same time, you're beat.
You're still trying to
you wanna
relax.
rest a little bit, and
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. And sometimes maybe that is your relaxation. You get out in the shop and work on your car or whatever. That's good.
Right. But
Then you've got friends that want to go out to dinner and go do something, or they stop by.
or a girlfriend that's like, hey, spend time with me.
Oh,
'cause you
yeah.
haven't been home all week.
Impossible. Yeah.
As
or a
much-
wife or whatever.
Yeah.
As much I hate to say it, friends too. That's another one that we can maybe roll into pitfalls of being a car guy.
Okay.
You got countless friends. As soon as they figure out you know how to work on things,
Oh,
they're
yeah.
there every
Yeah, you
weekend.
do.
Oh, it's just a little thing. Could you take a look?
Yeah.
And before
2 days
long,
later.
you're doing a clutch on an S10 going, if you bring this thing back in here, I'm going to hold you under till the bubbles stop.
Oh no, you're right. I mean, it could be
Sure.
a pitfall of being a car guy, right?
Yeah.
Hey, you know how to do that? Can you help me with this? That's fair.
I could, but
Well, and it's like depending on the friend or the person I'm talking to, it's like
Yeah.
I want to help my friends, right?
Agreed.
Because it's a
Yeah.
community,
I'm with you.
and you want to hopefully get the favor return someday.
Right.
So I try to give a little, and so I'm always the one that's willing to be like, yeah, bring it over.
Yep.
Let's check it out.
Yeah.
If it's something crazy, I'll be like, no, but I agree. I will always help my people work on their vehicles.
Yeah.
And it
Honestly,
is a double-edged sword.
I offer more than they ask, honestly. And I know when they got stuff going on. My buddy Josh, he was on the show, episode 3, and his car is at my house. I'm just waiting for parts to show up at the door.
Yeah.
So, but we're going to do it. It'll be a fun project.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, my car right now is at my buddy's shop because it was like a paintable shop. So, we turn it into a temp paint booth, but it's been there for twice as long as I'd hoped it was going to be.
yeah.
So you kind of feel bad, and I'm trying to rush it too.
Yep.
But yeah, no, that's cool. I mean, you gotta give back a little bit too.
Mm-hmm.
If you have the space and time and energy. I mean, I always try to.
Being this close on your body and paint, I got to ask, what color you land on?
Well, being that I I had grandiose plans. Initially, the car came in like a dark gray, so a graphite gray pearl it was called. And I loved it, but I didn't want to paint that color. I've had a few white Toyotas in my life, so I just painted it GM Olympic white, single stage, because I knew it was my first paint job.
Yeah.
It's easy to spray, easy to correct if I make mistakes, and I made a lot of mistakes. But, it's coming out very good for my first one, and I'm very happy with it. I mean, it's cool. It's fun, but I love a white car, and I put a whole new body kit on it too, so
Everything's going to match.
yeah.
Nice.
Right, and my tow rig's a GM Olympic white. So
Okay. Well, there you go. Match it. You tow on a flatbed?
no, I have a flatbed. Yeah. My trailer's a flatbed. Yeah.
That's cool. That's good.
Everybody wants an enclosed trailer. Not all of us can afford them.
Oh no.
It's valid.
So I've got some friends that actually prefer towing flatbeds.
Yeah.
Because they like the people coming by and giving them the thumbs up, and
Yeah. I mean,
especially the kids.
I like my enclosed trailer because I can park it and
Not worry about
not
shit.
worry about it too much.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah. And I don't need people seeing what's in there.
That's exactly
You
right.
know?
And you can store like tools in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've
Whereas
got a
on
whole
the
kit set up
flatbed,
on it. Yeah.
You got to have the tools in the truck.
Well,
Right.
and on a hot day out on the track, you got a shaded spot
You
to
do.
sit back and relax.
Yeah, you do. Yeah,
Wow.
it's kind of nice. Yeah.
It's worth its weight in gold.
It is.
Yeah.
I definitely spoil myself with that. But I worked
That's
up to
good.
it too. I started
Absolutely.
with a cheap one and graduate up.
I believe I slept in that one at
I
one
believe you
point.
did. That's right. Forgot about that. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we had a Miata at one point, and I was loaning it out to people to try out Autocross.
that's
Max
cool.
took a turn. Yeah.
That is way cool. I love Miatas.
Big
I mean, who
mistake.
doesn't? What
Yeah.
car guy doesn't?
It's fun to drive. Those
No.
things are ridiculous.
I had too much fun. It's one of the things that really got me hooked into the sport, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Just
Yeah.
showing up, having the loaner. It was, hey, come out. Don't worry about the rig. Let's just have fun today.
Yep. Just
Get
go
some
drive
seat
it.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah, you couldn't hurt the thing. Just go drive it. You
Yeah.
know, hard as you want. I don't care. And that was fun. So
I had almost
That's
as
way
much
cool.
fun as
Yeah.
times I spun it that weekend.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got to loop it once in a while.
Yeah. You got to find the edge.
The peak.
Find the
Yep.
limit.
Yes, sir.
That's cool. Yep. So for drifting, like, what's it like for an entry level person? What's it like? What's a realistic goal for learning that? Like timeline?
Timeline, I mean, it all depends on budget, but the reality is, if let's say you had like a good entry level car and the basics, which would just be suspension, a hydraulic handbrake for the rear tires,
Okay.
and a small amount of angle mods, so more angle.
Mhm. Yep.
If you had that, and let's say 5 events in a year, and the tires to fund that, you could find yourself drifting fairly well by the end of the first season, depending on your power and which vehicle you chose.
Okay.
But I've been drifting on and off for over 15 years, and this is my pretty much 4th fully built drift car now. And, I still learn every day, every
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
I am very comfortable with the car. I've had this car for a long time. It's I've owned it for 6 years now. Yeah, 6 years. So it feels good. And I'm just super used to it.
Yeah.
A buddy of mine bought a car a couple weeks back, and it has the basic mods I just went over, and I drove it, and it felt cool, but I could feel myself like not used to it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the best part about drifting is there's no classes, right? There's no pressure on the track. Like, and if you tell people there, hey, I'm new, I haven't done this, nobody's gonna like shun you or anything. It's a very inclusive and like welcoming motorsport.
Nice.
So if let's say there's a young person or a new guy or girl that are like, hey, I've never drifted, you're gonna find the community like being super helpful and supportive.
Can you give ride-alongs?
Yes.
Like, so a new person can ride
Yes.
and kind of learn the feel and that.
And watch what you're doing and
yeah.
film it. You'll find a lot
Okay.
of new people film
Yeah. they
me
can
driving,
study
or
that.
I'll film guys driving. Heck. And that's the coolest. That's a really cool part about drifting, actually. A buddy of mine brought that up when he came and observed an event. He's like, this is one of the only motorsports I know where I can just hop in your car as long as I have a helmet on.
Yeah.
And
Autocross is like that too.
Yeah, see, that's cool. I mean, and if you have a 4-door drift car, you can throw 3 people in the thing.
Fill it up.
Right, like drift taxi. But it's cool because nobody's gonna judge you. So
yeah, that's
you
awesome.
find that people will be super helpful. And if something breaks, like at a weekend, we call them a matsuri, which is a Japanese word for like weekend event.
Oh, okay.
You'll find that if you break something on your car and you get your car to your pit, people are going to help you fix it.
Oh, that's cool.
Nobody just lets you struggle over there.
Yeah.
They're going to be
Everybody's hey, what do you need?
Yeah.
That's
hey,
great.
I have that part.
I love that
or I can help
yeah.
you with that. Like, and
I got a welder.
Yeah. yeah. Or like,
huh?
hey, I have that brake caliper or something, whatever it may be. It's cool.
No, I like that.
Yeah.
That's good. I've experienced that same thing. I raced motocross for a lot of years.
Yeah.
And even people you don't know. I remember one specific instance racing out at Washougal, and I sheared my sprocket bolts. Mm-hmm. My day was pretty much done.
Sure.
This guy, I had no idea who he was. He brought me a wheel off of his, I don't know if it was a spare or if it was I think it was off of his bike. He's like, here, race your next moto. Bring it back when you're done.
The whole bike?
No, just a rear wheel.
Okay, got you, yeah.
Because he had the same rear, the same bike.
Sure.
So he's like, yeah, use mine. And I was like, that was awesome.
That's awesome.
Who does that?
Yeah.
Just here you go. Use this.
Yeah, I find that too. Yeah.
Good people.
That's people. I know. It's so awesome. Yeah, you find that a lot in racing, not just motorcycle, but car racing.
Motorsports in general.
Motorsports in
general camaraderie.
There really is. And I love that family atmosphere because everybody's out there to do the same thing. They're there to have fun. And it's like they see somebody with having a mechanical issue. Hey, what can I do to help? It's so cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And you build great friendships that way too.
You do.
For me, that was the off-road community. Every time I'd blow up my truck on the side of the road, there was countless people rolling by. Hey, are you all right? What can we do to help? What do you need to get back on the road?
That's great.
And it's just one of those, I've made lifelong friends over parts blown up on the side of the road, 50 miles from the nearest paved area.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got to shout out this track. All you guys talking about this right now reminds me, it's this perfect place. It's in Walla Walla, Washington. It's called Villains. It's drifter owned. It's a track. Okay. They crowdfunded this track, and they do about 5 to 6 events, maybe more a year. And it's the most just incredible vibe over the weekend. You park in the pits. It's an old drag strip, and then they added on to it, so they didn't have to get like crazy permitting from the state because it was already a racing venue. Yeah, right. Yeah. And just the whole thing with people helping and just it's like a barbecue and a party. And then, I love that. At night, you'll just see everybody's pop up and tent just lit up, people helping each other work on cars. I mean, it's such a cool thing to be a part of. And that's basically why I keep trying to build my car better and like get it ready. I'm trying to get to a Villains event in June or I'm sorry, July. So the camaraderie, Max's word was perfect. You'll find that in drifting a lot, and especially at certain venues. There's no ego, right? There's no.
Well, you're all out there to do the same thing,
right? And no matter what your level is, your car, build level. I mean, as long as we're all helping each other. I mean, that's really what it matters to me.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
What, Max? I know that when you were doing the autocrosses in the Miata, like that was your first experience in that. What did you feel like in being the first time out there and being able to experience that? Like, what was that for you?
It was kind of a big shift for me. It'd been 3 or 4 events I'd showed up to spectate. I'd had a couple of ride-alongs, which was astounding to me in that community. I was climbing in the passenger seat of cars that, frankly, were unobtainium for me. They're vehicles I could never hope to afford to drive. But you walk up and you just ask these folks, hey, I love your car. Is there any chance I can jump in? Just go for a quick lap with you. And that was consistently the answer is jump in, hold on, and shut up. And it was astounding. And when you guys lent me the Miata, we went out, and that was my first driver's event for an autocross event.
Yep.
I'll admit I'm not maybe the best driver. I'm a little overcommitted. I got a heavy right foot and no real sense of self-preservation. So I went out there and I tried to drive the wheels off of that thing.
Way overdriving it. Yeah.
I spun it I don't know how many times that weekend. And on several occasions, I had drivers come up to me and tell me, hey, would you like to get faster? These are some things I've seen. This is what you can do to be better, that this is the apex of that corner. Mm-hmm. And it was just astounding to me that people would come up to you marked as competitors and tell you how to get better, what you can do. I had 2 or 3 people that jumped in the car with me. They're like, well, I want to see what you're up to. Let's see if we can dial it in from here.
Yeah. Pretty cool, huh?
Oh, it was amazing. An absolute game changer. It kind of took the competitive out of the motorsports and made it a lot more friendly of an event.
Yeah, it really is for fun in that respect, that everybody's just there to have a good time and honestly help everybody be better.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of crossover with autocross and drifting. Yeah. Like everything you just explained is something similar to what I've experienced, and to kind of the same vibe that we find in drifting. It's very similar. You'll find people willing to help you. They'll hop in the car with you. I've driven guys' cars. I've traded cars. Yeah. Like, hey, let me drive your car. I'm like, okay, if I can drive yours.
Yeah. And
we'll do it. And then, we hand it back like, hey, this is what you should do to your car to make it better or feel better to me. And, we'll just share intel. And yeah, it's very similar.
Yeah. We do a lot of that in autocross. We'll drive each other's cars. I got a chance to drive Grant's Mustang this weekend, first time. And I had thoughts.
Yeah, I bet.
I mean, it's such a departure from driving a Z06 to a 4.6 liter Mustang GT. And to be fair, he's done a lot of work to that car. And it's a lot better than most Mustangs I've driven.
I bet.
But he was giggling. It was so funny because he was riding along with me. And I'm going through this course and he's like, you did things I didn't know my car could do.
Yeah.
I was like, he chased it all weekend. It was really funny.
That is cool.
He liked it. He was like, I'm going to work on that. It was like, right on, dude.
And then you're pushing each other, right?
Yeah.
You're pushing ability.
Yeah.
And with motorsport, that's what it's all about.
It's a big chunk of it. If you're willing to check your pride at the door and listen to what your fellows have to say, you can pick up a lot in a single session.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, you can. You really can. And then that comes back to, the timeline for learning. Autocross is kind of the same way. I know when I started, you come in, and I've seen a lot of people do this exact same thing. You come into an event, your first one, and you're like, I can drive a car. I'm good driving. You get out there and you go, oh man, I got a long way to go.
Yeah.
Because you overdrive the crap out of it, and the car won't do what your brain says it should do, and you realize you got a lot to learn.
You haven't probably pushed a car like that.
Exactly. Yeah. You don't get to push it on the street like that.
Why isn't my all-wheel drive pushing like this? It shouldn't push like this.
How come it's not turning?
I'm understeering.
Yeah, exactly. Just pushing it through the corners. But, after a season, your first year of doing it, you get a much better grasp on it. So like you said, you get 5 or 6 events under your belt and you're like, okay, I get it a little bit more now. And then you go back to the garage and you're like, I know what I need to do.
And that's the important part, Rob, because I feel like so many guys are like, well, what mod should I do next? What should I do? I'm like, you don't feel it? Because I feel it. When I drive my car, I know what I'm going to do next.
But that's the experience level too. Yeah. That's the experience level. A new guy, maybe the one, because I get that same thing. Mm-hmm. I say, I talk to guys with nice cars. I'm like, hey, come out and autocross. I really want to do that. I want to do that. But I want to do this to my car first. I'm like, no, come out, drive the car, learn what it'll do, then work on the car.
Yeah, because I guarantee you have no idea what this car can actually do yet. Yeah, without touching it.
Or what it can't do.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, exactly. Right. Or, hey, I've already put all this money into my spring rates or sway bars, and they're
wrong.
Yeah. So you're chasing this, carrot that's not even there.
Yeah.
So. See, I think this is one of the ones it's a little more obvious in the off-road community because there's not necessarily that wall. You just show up to an obstacle and you realize my vehicle's not equipped for this. The parts I need are, X more inches of lift, a bigger tire, more droop in the suspension versus
need to
going
take
out.
The power booster off my brakes.
Exactly. Yeah, instead of going out and putting in the laps and putting in the time and figuring it out.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's a baseline of racing, but I don't know. when you're new to it, you don't know. You don't know what you don't know.
It's
One of
true.
those things, maybe.
It's true.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. All right, Max, you've brought up the off-road a little bit, a couple of times. Give us some background.
As much as I hate to say it, while the Subaru's been on the back burner, I've found myself adopted into the overlanding community.
Oh.
And I decided to build what I had instead of going out and chasing something. For me, that took the form of a 2003 Ford Ranger 4.0 XLT 4x4. And it started simple. When I first got the truck, it had a mild lift and some slight tires on it. And by now, I've got the full kitchen caboodle on the thing. It's more lift, it's bead locks, it's bumpers front and rear. We've got sliders, a winch, all the lights you can handle. I put a canopy on it, some RTT stuff. I've redecked out the entire canopy area into a secondary living area. It's one of the few Rangers you'll ever see on the road that'll sleep more people than it will seat.
That's awesome.
But it was kind of a joke at first. I bought it as a lifted vehicle thinking, all right, I can get to and from work in the snow in this thing. This isn't going to be a problem.
Yeah.
And before long, I had people, hey, you want to go hit a trail? Let's go do Brown's Camp. And after 3 or 4 of them, it's just like motorsports racing. It hooks you. You're like, I've got it. I got to go bigger. I got to go badder.
You realize what you need or what you want because you enjoyed what you were doing.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Now I want to do it more.
And it's a little different than normal racing. And it's not necessarily about being fast.
Yeah.
It's a lot slower, more methodical. It's
Okay.
about wheel placement and conserving your machine.
Yeah.
Because anyone can go out there in a stock XJ, hold your foot to the floor and make it to the other side. The vehicle might not, but people have the ability.
Yeah.
Versus out on an autocross track, you get someone who's really getting after it. They're gonna hit a certain point where it's skill to power.
Yeah.
One of them's gonna outweigh the other.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Definitely going to happen. Yeah. No, that's awesome. So you've been doing that for the last 4 or 5 years now?
Oh, mercy. All of that. Probably
A little
about
more?
6, I think, is when I bought it.
Okay.
And a year and a half into ownership was my first real off-road trip in it.
Okay.
And from there, it spiraled into a 3,680-mile road trip that took 18 days across the western U.S. and hit every off-road park and national area I could find that wasn't paved.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Wow.
Epic.
That's impressive.
Epic
dude.
trip.
Yeah, that is.
Yeah. That's a long ways.
We could do a whole show just on
Yeah,
that.
I'm
no
sure.
doubt.
Yeah.
Well,
Hey
when
guys,
you do Overland,
I got to
give
take
me
a break real
buzz.
quick.
Absolutely.
Break time.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, it works out one way or another.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, I mean, as long as you can get along, right?
Yeah.
Ready?
Yes, sir.
All right. So next topic. I mean, it's along the same lines. It's all cars, right?
Yep.
So I wanted to know what and everybody can weigh in on this. What is your thought of the best budget platform race car? So your discipline is going to be different than our discipline, most likely.
Yeah.
But what do you got?
For drifting, out of the box, stock, ready to rip, is by far right now today is the 350Z.
Oh, wow.
It's got great power. You can find them for
Pretty cheap.
real cheap right now,
Yeah.
from $3,000 to $5,000. They're going to be beat, but they're still going to be running pretty good.
Yeah.
And all you need from there is coilovers and some angle, and you can keep up.
Wow.
So they're a great platform. My best friend just bought one. He got a killer deal on one. It's an 08. And in 07, they did the better motor. Went from what they call the DE, which was just the twin cam older one, to the HR, which the dual intakes, just another 40 horsepower on top. And he got it for less than $5,000.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you want to drift, my advice to anybody listening is definitely a 350Z.
Wow.
Yeah.
How's the 70? I had one of those.
Oh,
I
the
raced one of
70s
those
are
for a while.
killer too.
Yeah.
It's a
little more expensive.
It's a little more expensive,
Yeah.
but you can still find those pretty reasonably priced too.
Yeah.
Like 12,
Yeah, I'm sure they're coming down.
$12,000 for a clapped one.
Yeah.
But for the money,
You got to be pretty to slide.
Yeah, and they look good too. You know, I love the way they look.
car.
Yeah, they're great. They're great cars. So, in my opinion, for drifting, budget drifting, any more these days, you know, when I first started drifting, it was the 240 SX. There was plenty of them. They made plenty of them. They sold a bunch, and you could get one for cheap. Now they're, you know, unobtainium, even for a beat one,
because they were that popular. The price went back up.
It's by far the most popular drift car.
Yeah,
but you know, now they're ridiculously expensive. And then another car back when I first started, when I was young, this was 20 years ago, you could get a 85 through 87 Corolla for $2,000 to $4,000.
Yeah.
Oh shoot!
And
Good
now,
luck. You see an AE86, you're looking at all kinds of bills.
And the last one I bought, I was probably 20 years old. It was ugly, but it was a hatch, and it was a GTS, which has the good rear end and, you know, good motor. Mm-hmm. I bought it for $2,500 running and driving in Olympia, Washington. Wow. I drove it home, and I had it for a year and a half. And so that's the disconnect now, right? Yeah. But so like the modern version of that is definitely the 350Z.
Is it hard now to find a rear wheel drive car that's capable?
Yeah, I mean pretty much every manufacturer stopped making them, right? Yeah. I mean the FRS, the BRZ, the 350Z, 370Z, that's gonna be your go-to. That's still in decent enough to shape to like reliably daily or, you know, take to the track or whatever. But yeah, they stopped making them, right? Yeah. Everything's front wheel drive, EV, hybrid, whatever. But yeah, they're harder to get a hold of.
For sure.
What about BMWs?
BMWs are great. I had a E46 330i ZHP. This was actually the car before my IS that I had on coilovers, and it was a factory LSD car. It was a great car. The steering on those are amazing. BMWs are great. Parts are a little more expensive. Yeah. They're a little harder to work on. They're not terrible, but you do see them a lot at the track. A lot of guys are using BMW. So that is a good budget entry car too.
Mustangs too, right?
We're seeing more of them now, but you know, when you compare it to something else, you got it's the solid axle versus the IRS. So you have more control, and it's just a better car out of the box is going to have IRS. But we do see a lot of Mustangs now on the track.
Is the weight of a Mustang?
It plays a difference.
Yeah. Okay.
They are heavier, right?
Yeah.
Like they're
4,000 pounds.
They're 4,000 pounds. Even the 2005 that gen.
Yep. They
were like 3,800 pounds, which is a lot, right?
Right.
But especially with the 4.6 modular motor, I mean, those are pretty. They left a lot to be desired. Mm-hmm. So, you know, there's just better chassis for the option, but we do see guys drift them.
Yeah.
And I would imagine even on the 4.6 modular, the aftermarket's near infinite on that platform.
Absolutely.
For sure. It really is. I mean, it does weigh into your budget though, right? I mean, you're going to spend more to make that car capable. However, with the limited amount of rear wheel drive cars that are out there, I can see why that car would now look better.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And at the time, I mean, let's look at, you know, Chevy. The Camaro up till 02, when it stopped for those number of years, it was a terrible drift car. Oh yeah, they're way heavier. They're like 4,400 pounds.
Yeah.
And the suspension didn't, you know, it was just crap. I mean, they're cool in a straight line. A lot of guys, you know, drag them and do cool shit with them. But not to say they can't be a drift car, but like you said, you have to put so much money into them.
Yeah,
and they were uglier. I mean, the Mustang is a way better car.
Yeah. The what about the earlier Camaros, Gen 3 stuff?
We do see them.
They're lighter.
They were way lighter. Yeah, it was like, you know, 3,600 pounds or something. Yeah,
even lighter. 32 to 36. Yeah, depends on your options.
Yeah.
Which one's the Gen 3?
It's like the IROC Z.
Yeah, the IROC Z. Okay. Yeah, I didn't know how to answer that without showing you one of them.
There's guys out there using them. There's guys out there that are diehard, and they're doing a really good job, and they look good. You know, I mean, like I never hated that body style. A lot of guys hate them, like, you know, the mullet car.
I don't mind them. I mean, we see a fair amount of them in Autocross. Yeah, it's a pretty good platform.
Yeah. Same with us. Yeah. We're starting to see a lot more of them because people are trying to find a budget entry level car, and you can get a running and driving V8 manual now for like $2,000. It's going to be flat, but you can find them.
Yeah. for sure. Yeah, the price range is pretty big depending on what it looks like.
Yep.
And as they get older, it seems like the aftermarket is more and more susceptible to them. You know, 10 years ago, you'd have been hard-pressed to find an angle kit for that car.
Yeah.
Nowadays, it's dime a dozen. There's 3-4 different manufacturers for them.
Yeah, and it's funny because, you know, this company called the Detroit Drift, they make angle kits for that gen IROC. They make, or, you know, Camaro. They make stuff for the Mustangs of that time. So we are starting to see a lot more, you know, platform help and support.
Well, doesn't it help too? The more people actually start using it for that, the demand comes up. That's when people start, hey, there's a market there. I can start making aftermarket parts and actually make a profit on something, you know, instead of just building it and hope that they're going to have somebody to sell it to.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's cool to watch. It's been fun to watch because drifting has become so much more popular in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
It died off. I mean, in the early 2000s, mid 2000s, it got really popular initially, and then it died off for a number of years, and now it's just blowing up again.
Do you think,
since COVID?
Well, that's what I was going to say. Do you think COVID helped? Because I think COVID helped motorsport.
Oh, it did.
All disciplines of motorsport, from off-road motorcycle to autocross, drag racing, road racing, all of it.
I agree.
Yeah.
It's basically, you know, it provided people with enough time to find a hobby or passion project.
Yeah. And it was something you could still do.
Yeah, and it was something you could still do. And, you know, thank God I was working the whole time.
Yeah.
I'm thankful for that because I know a lot of people weren't.
Right.
But it allowed me to build the car I wanted.
Yep.
And I afforded the time because nobody was out doing extracurricular stuff.
Yeah.
So, you know, I feel like it did the same for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And drifting was
kind
right in there
exploded.
with it. It exploded. Yeah. And
for the good and for the bad. I mean,
right. Because
the good part, because it exploded the sport, right? And now it's more prevalent, more events, maybe more parts and this and that, but on the bad side, it gets more expensive because there's more people doing it.
Not only that, but it drove the prices of those said cars I was talking about way up. Yeah, and I'm sure it was the same with the autocross cars.
For sure.
Oh, absolutely.
Any rear-wheel driver capable chassis probably doubled in price during COVID.
Yeah, kind of crazy.
Specifically,
and we did it to ourselves.
Yes.
Yeah.
Specifically, what comes to mind for me is mostly the 90s, early 2000s imports have just rocketed in price in the last couple of years. And I feel like a big chunk of it is exactly that. People want to use these platforms for motorsports.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
Actually, that was one of the things we're going to talk about too, is like, is it worth picking up a 90s JDM car or early 2000s to restore? I mean, I think that culture is booming. Mm-hmm. There's people out there in that upswing. Yeah, absolutely. In that age group, whatever that is, 20s to 30s, you know, whoever likes imports.
Yeah.
It can be anybody. But, yeah, I think it's going crazy.
2 cars ago, my last like fully built drift car with the motor swap or, you know, cool motor, it was a 91 Toyota Mark II. It's a rear-wheel drive, right-hand drive car from Japan. It was the first right-hand drive car I ever purchased. I bought it from a guy here in Portland. And at the time, and this was, I thought was expensive, and it was in bad shape. It barely ran, but it did run. And it was a factory 1J GTE car with a 5-speed. I bought it for like $6,000.
I mean, now that seems cheap.
Yeah, it's way cheap because now you can't find a JZX 81 Mark II for less than 10 minimum, and that's in terrible shape. Most of them are like 15.
Yeah,
and I ended up selling it 2 years later for 10. So it's like,
plus it was right-hand drive.
Yeah. I mean, they only came right-hand drive as far as I know.
Okay,
I could be wrong, but you know, the ones that everybody's importing are right-hand drive.
Sure.
But it's crazy to watch. The only thing I would say about that, Rob, is if somebody's wanting to restore a JDM 90s car, I mean, parts are obviously an issue, but the quality was a little different, right? It's hard to put one together in a perfect shape. You're going to have to do so much fabrication to make it a permanent a permanent thing, like bumpers, like even on my car, it's a mid 2000s car. Like I've had to add extremely stout bumper mounts and stuff.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like I can just use the stock stuff. It doesn't work like that. It's not
clip.
meant. Yeah, it's not meant to work like
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
That's one I ran into with my Subaru even, it's a constant battle. In those particular years, it feels like most of the JDMs were, I'm not going to say chintzy, but they were on the verge of economy design.
Absolutely.
Well, that's the good way to put it.
Supposed to be a forever car.
Yeah,
you know,
it was almost a throwaway.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And nowadays, between the aftermarket and all the other OEM supporting mods, you can take one of these cars and make it into that forever car you were after.
You can.
It's just a matter of how much money and time you're willing to throw at it.
Right.
Precisely.
Right. Well, I would assume that market's just like any other market. Once more people start to restore, and that those aftermarket parts will become more available.
Yeah.
And it definitely lags. I've seen that in every other motorsport rebuild. You know, I've restored a bunch of motorcycles. Same kind of thing. Depending on the age of it, you could hit that gap that you can't find aftermarket parts. And then 10 years later, there's a flood of those aftermarket parts because somebody goes, hey, I could, there's people trying to restore these bikes. I can build these parts and make a killing. And they do.
Yep.
Just as an example, let's take a small swath of those 90s, early 2000s JDM cars. We're looking at Mark IV Supras. We're looking at RX-7 FDs. We're looking at NSX V2s. I mean, across the board, these cars in the last couple of years have skyrocketed in value.
Yeah.
A lot of the things that we grew up looking at on posters going, I want one of those one day. They've turned into unobtainium.
Well, it's funny you touch on that, Max, because I was thinking about this before I got here today. And even when I first started working in my career, I found that, there was a time where I was going to go buy an FDRX7 for less than $10,000.
Yeah.
In Colorado Springs, Colorado. And I was going to go buy it. He sold it out from under me, but I had the money. I was going to go buy it.
Yeah.
For less than 10 bands running. And then at the same time, around that same era, 08, 09, you could find a running and driving high mileage NSX for $20,000.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's double that.
Triple that.
Triple
that.
triple.
Yeah, I think
Mark
it's in the
IV
triple
It's
level.
nuts.
Yeah.
So like
driving 40K, bare minimum.
15 years ago, I mean, you could get a cool, rare Japanese car, even USDM, shipped and sold for dirt cheap. Supras were right there. They were like 25, 30.
Right.
And now we see these prices of these prime examples, stock suspension, stock wheels for $130,000 at auction. It's nuts.
Honestly, that makes them more. That makes them worth more.
The left hand, it
well,
does.
the more stock they are.
They are,
because it's unmolested.
Exactly.
As soon as you buy something that you see is heavily modified, you know two things. One, this owner had enough time and money that they're willing to get under there and turn some wrenches. Now, for better or worse,
paid somebody.
Absolutely. True. And I've seen that on both ends. Sometimes it's beautiful work under there, and sometimes you crawl under there and go, "What mad scientist had a meter and thought they knew how to use it?"
Yeah, that's valid. I mean, we all go through it too, but
that's true.
You never know what you're going to get when you start shopping for that.
The value of these cars has just been shockingly fast. I mean, it's way more than the muscle car market was, right? Like we saw a rise.
Seems that way.
And we saw a rise in the muscle cars from 80s to 2000, early 2000s, where they doubled, tripled in price. But that was over the course of 20 years. Whereas opposed to the JDM cars, especially the USDM ones, left-hand drive, where they quadrupled in price in a matter of 5 years. 6 years, let's call it. At least doubled. So it's shocking as somebody who's been into these cars for this long and saw the prices when I was younger, and to see it now, it's crazy to me.
It definitely makes
especially
you kick yourself.
The quality
for the
of
cars.
the car.
Oh, that too.
And it's one thing if you're buying an exotic, you expect certain things to appreciate. If it's so rare, it's a certain manufacturer, it's low mileage, you're not going to hurt it. But these JDM cars, you don't see a lot of that.
They were driven to death.
Exactly.
Beat on. Yeah.
And these guys hold them like they're made of gold. And don't get me wrong, if I owned a Mark IV Supra, USDM GTE manual car, I would be, I mean, I would sell it for the price they're going for, right? It's not like I want to give somebody a deal, but it's still, I know what it's actually worth in my mind.
Right.
It's still a 90s Japanese car. They're not built like tanks.
Yeah. Well, they're not built like supercars.
No, they're not built like super. They weren't handcrafted.
Right.
Well, not to,
assembly line.
I don't want to point fingers, but there have been a certain number of manufacturers, particularly ones that have made all-wheel drive machines or boosted machines over the years. And we found out that these cars, a lot of the technology in the 90s, 2000s was brand new to them. They were just exploring it. It was on the cusp of their cutting-edge motorsports.
I agree.
Well, come to find out 2 to 3 years later, maybe it was not such a great system. There are new options now. You can go bigger, you can go badder, you can fix reliability issues.
And we found in the 90s too, a lot of these cars were over-engineered. Like let's look at the Z32 twin turbo 300ZX.
300ZX.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, my God, that thing is
example.
the ultimate example of over-engineered. I mean, how to work on it with the twin turbo was impossible. The suspension, the active aero, everything about it was just terribly engineered. It worked great, but it was not to last. And it certainly wasn't easy to service.
Right.
It was impossible to service.
And
That's why you don't see many, because everybody's like, I'm going to throw it away. It's done.
Yeah, it's true. No, yeah, I hadn't put that together, but yeah, you don't see many of those, do you, anymore?
No.
Right.
And I don't just want to point my finger at JDM cars, because let's be honest, there are a lot of cars from this era that came out of Europe with very similar issues.
I agree.
Specifically, what jumps to my head here is like the Mark III Escort RSs. They
Gorgeous.
were turbocharged, beautiful vehicles, made 300-something horse, I believe, factory.
Yep.
Gorgeous. Loved the layout. The interior was beautiful. In about 3 years, everyone who had one had run into problems.
Mm-hmm.
Be it with fuel delivery, be it with boost issues.
Head gasket.
Head gaskets.
Yep.
Other
I
cars.
don't even want to talk about it. I own a Subaru. I'm tired of head gaskets.
Yeah, I figured that was a tough subject, but talking about the Escort RS, we have to bring it up. I mean, it's like Cosworth did an amazing job on any car they worked on, but they weren't built for the 200,000 mile run. Yeah. They were built to be driven on the weekends, maybe 50,000 miles before a full service refresh. That's not something you're gonna, daily to 300,000 miles.
Well, and most people aren't gonna ignore that. They're like, nah, it's a car. We're gonna just drive it until it dies.
It was never intended for that.
Right. Yeah, that's pretty interesting. Kind of circling back to the topic we started on, because we morphed that. Typical.
It's all good.
Yeah. Budget platform for racing. What do you think, Max?
As much as I hate to say this, I don't think y'all are going to like my answer. It's kind of dependent, but if you have the mechanical inclination, you can do the fab work, you can do the math, you can acquire the parts. For price and what you've got to put into them, for almost any discipline these days, I honestly love most mini trucks. It's an
mini trucks. I did not see that coming.
They're lightweight. You can stuff almost any motor you can fit between the fenders. The drivetrain's easily
Specifically,
accessible.
What brand?
I hate to say it, I'm a Ford guy.
A
Ford Ranger all day.
Yeah. Wow. No, I know you can put
so I saw that
302 in there. Yeah.
A 302.
Remember last week when Grant said
trucks.
Ford Ranger does not have a cult following?
Yeah.
Would you like me to fight?
I think I said it.
I'll do it.
Yeah. I still argue that, but all right.
The aftermarket is widely available. They'll take just about any parts you're willing to throw at them if you want to do the
How many of those do you see in racing?
Right.
Less than I'd like to, but I think it's a valid option.
I think you're right, honestly. But I think you should build up a Ford Ranger and come autocross.
Yeah, I agree. And that's the thing, though. I mean, interestingly enough, I do agree with you. It's a very buildable platform.
Yeah.
But the reality is it's still a solid axle leaf spring truck.
Yeah.
And so to build an actual performer for autocross, drift,
that can be rough.
Drag racing. I mean, drag racing not so much, but you know what I mean. At least you still got to do a completely custom setup.
Yeah, I would think so.
So
that's fair. I mean,
that's my
Ranger,
that would be my
S10,
only.
Go a little older. Go to the Datsun.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Love those Datsuns.
And then you're even lighter.
And
Yeah.
I guess
The old Toyota.
Yeah, I love
specifically,
those
if I think about the motorsports I've seen them in, these are getting far more popular in drag racing specifically.
Okay.
Right.
But that's not to say the platform couldn't support other types.
Yeah.
No.
It's an interesting concept, but yeah, the suspension would be an issue.
The suspension.
I don't know
would
how
be
you go with
tricky.
how do you
Well,
get a live axle in one of those?
I'm going to shout this guy out. Brandon Peja. I've known him for years. He's in Colorado. He has a Nissan hard body pickup, and he did a full S13 front and rear subframe swap.
wow.
And
Okay.
it's a beautiful truck. It's got a 1JZ in it. And that thing absolutely gets it. Like, it will drift perfectly. It's fast. I mean, everything about it is great. I mean, so they are capable. I mean, you can pretty much do anything you want to them.
Yeah, but okay.
But with that
Cool.
much fab,
It's also a budget.
It is.
That's
Well,
not a budget racer.
I agree.
Yeah.
partially. I'd say you're going to spend more to build it. Your initial buy price on these
Okay.
mini trucks
Yep.
is peanuts
It
these
is
days.
peanuts.
You know,
It's
you
very
find
true.
one in a field and the farmer will give it to you for a crisp high five and a flat of raspberries.
Right.
Yeah, that's
Probably true.
What's an F20C
He'd be happy to get it out of there.
platform cost? Wrecked.
Oh, a lot.
An S2000.
You want an S2000, you
Oh.
wrecked or
Oh.
not, you're at least 5-6
S2000
grand.
expensive.
Even
okay,
total.
so $500 for the Ford Ranger, wrecked
S2K for
S2000.
25.
Sure, but what do you have to
At
put
least
into
4
it to
or
get it
5.
going
Well,
again?
You figure
all you need out of it is the motor, the transmission, and that
but part
independent
of-
rear suspension, right?
Part of that car was the chassis.
Yeah,
just
it
the-
is.
yeah.
The
Yeah.
rigidity.
being
of it.
Yeah.
lightweight.
It was stitch
super
welded from the
rigid.
factory, which was an incredible.
Yeah.
It was a cool,
Yeah.
great car. Love those cars, but they felt super grippy. For autocross, they're amazing, right?
Yeah, well,
That's
it's a
an
power on
incredible-
car. You
it is
have
a
to,
power on
You have
car.
to know how to drive with power on
For
because it
drifting,
won't turn without
They
it.
didn't do so well
Yep.
because they were built for grip, which
Yep.
they should have been.
Yeah.
It's
Mhm.
a small roadster, but they're expensive. I mean, so around the same time, even when they were only 6 years old, you could get one for less than. You could get one for like $7,000 or $8,000
Oh,
in
you
2009,
You won't
2010.
touch one now for that.
Well, that's
And that was
again,
low
that's
mileage.
the escalation of prices. Yeah.
Right, and that's true. We have to consider inflation, but even from 2020 to now,
Yeah.
I mean, stuff's doubled, dude.
Yeah.
We can't talk.
It is
We can't
crazy.
not talk about it
Right.
because it's like that is nuts. But what a great motor, drivetrain, everything. Honda's incredibly reliable. They make good power, and you can boost them too. I mean, they
Hmm.
the K
but-
series motor does take well to boost.
yeah. I agree. I mean, K series is a great 4-cylinder motor, but it's way more expensive to get into as far as even a wrecked one.
Yeah.
You're gonna be way more in money wise.
Yeah. What do you think?
Ooh, budget. Honestly, I think WRX. Really, I mean, if you look right around 08 to 2012, you can get a decent car for
Post the
right
GD
around 8.
chassis.
Yeah,
For 8?
but yeah, right around 8.
You're thinking 8. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
not totally clapped out.
how much life is left in that motor at that time?
Oh, it's a super.
You know,
you might as well
we've
plan
got-
on rebuilding
Who
it.
you
At least
talk
put
to.
head gaskets on
I,
it.
Right.
I tell my friends, everyone who wants to get into them, if you are buying an EJ platform and it has north of 100,000 miles,
Yep.
set aside 3 to 4 grand. Go get yourself a rebuilt motor. It's going to save you a lot of headache and heartache in the end.
That's nuts.
That's really one of those things I wish I'd have been pointed to
I'm
when I
thinking-
bought mine.
3 to 4 grand for a rebuilt motor?
For
Yeah.
a stock
Wow,
205,
nuts.
255,
Love that.
Mhm.
it's not.
I
that
wish I
bad.
could do that for
for a
3 to 4 grand.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean,
I mean-
I get it. I mean, if you want a built motor, but it's like, so when I think about a budget car, if I was going to build a budget like race car that could do it all, drift, autocross, drag, anything, it's definitely a C5 Corvette.
Well, that is
Yeah.
a very good platform. I've got one that's even cheaper that I've been thinking of. No, might not like it, but it's
But
the Miata.
I mean, Miata's
Miata's
always
a
the
champ.
answer, right?
Miata's always the answer. It's
I
cheap.
mean, and
I mean, they're more expensive than they used to be. They're more to get into, but they're still cheaper than a C5. They're
They
cheaper
can
than an
do it all.
S2000.
I mean, I will
Are they
cheaper? Argue and I will digress, Rob,
Yes,
that they're
by a
not
lot.
as good drifting as they are
Well, I
anything
would
else.
imagine not. They're low horsepower.
Well, not only that, but their short wheelbase doesn't
Yeah.
lend to them like
Okay.
doing big, long, sweeping drifts, even
Sure.
with the V8 swap. Like
Okay.
I've seen V8
Yeah,
Miatas
I have
like do
too.
okay,
Yeah.
but they can't tandem with anything with another foot of wheelbase.
Yeah.
Because it line up. But I love Miatas. I always have. I've driven a few. I think they're great cars. But dollar for dollar, it's going to be a C5 for me.
I agree. That's a fantastic platform. And honestly, you don't have to go Z06.
No, you don't.
You get the
I prefer
base
the
model.
FRC, right?
Yeah.
I prefer the coupe. So I just find a base coupe.
right.
But yeah, you can find a LS1 car. Put
15.
minimal,
Yeah. 15 grand.
12 to 15.
A
It's
good
going to be
runner.
beat. Yeah, good runner, 15 for sure.
Yep.
But you could put tires on it,
Yep.
maybe springs.
You don't even have to start
You don't
with.
even have to start
You
with
run
right.
it that first year just the way it is. And
stock
I'm
as a
saying,
bone,
and
you still
that's
have
that's
so
autocross,
much
that's
fun.
drift,
Yeah.
everything, because they have incredible angle stock.
nice.
They have like something like 40 degrees, which is way more than most cars for a steering angle stock.
Yeah.
So I agree. Out of the box, with the power it has and the capability, if you do future build, that's the car.
I agree with the future build portion too. That's something you can grow into in that car. You can just continue to put time into it year after year, a little bit at a time as you see fit.
Yep.
Yeah. Fantastic car.
I also think most people getting into a Corvette like that, year one, you're never going to be able to harness all of the power.
Agreed.
By year 2 or 3, maybe.
You're over-carred.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can grow into the car
Mm-hmm.
before you have to update it.
Oh, for sure. No, I agree with you on year one. That's plenty of car. You don't need to do anything to it. Year two, you don't probably need to do anything to the motor. You need to
Brakes.
do suspension and brakes.
Suspension and brakes.
One or the other, maybe both.
Yeah.
By year 3, you should have both
If
done.
you've got the budget, yeah.
and
do it.
then maybe start doing some tuning
Add a little
because you're not
punch.
going to outdrive that motor.
No, exactly.
Not that early.
You're out-carred.
Yeah.
No, that's
As a driver.
fantastic platform, really.
No, it's. I've driven a V8 racing once.
Mm-hmm.
I did get to drive Liger last year, coming from
Liger's Grant's Mustang.
yeah,
Cool.
So coming from an all-wheel drive Subaru and stepping into a V8 car, I'm like, I've never driven this car. Let's do this. Let's see what it does. I had no idea what to expect. Spun out in the first lap. My son sitting next to me in the car, giggling. Got right back into it, finished the lap, and then a little bit faster every time. But, it probably 2-3 years, even in that car, it would take me to be able to harness 2/3 of the power.
Yeah.
Yeah. To feel like you could actually use some kind of mod.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. that's
Power-wise mod.
Yeah.
Right.
fair. Yeah. So along those same lines, what car are you tired of seeing? What car is overused? Miata.
You're not gonna.
No,
like that answer.
honestly,
Yes.
dude, I love the Miata.
Yeah.
But like I touched on earlier, for drifting, at least my motorsport world, by far the S13 240SX, which
Yeah.
is the first gen 240SX we got in the States. The second gen I still kind of like.
Yeah.
I owned one and it was a great car. They look cool. But the hatchback 240SX for drifting is, and guys covet them too. They're worth so much money now,
Really?
and they're still just a piece of crap. I mean, they handle good. They do okay, and that you can put any motor in them, just like, the mini truck you were talking about, Max. But I can't do it because they're just so played out, dude.
Yeah.
They're played out.
That's awesome. I mean, I think everybody kind of has that car. You're like, I'm so tired
You're
of that
just
car.
tired of seeing
Yeah, just tired
it.
of seeing it.
Shows.
Corvettes.
We're tired of
So
looking
tired
at
of seeing those
Vans.
things.
We don't want to see any Bel Airs at a car show. Everyone and their mom's
Everybody's got one.
It's like
Yeah,
an
Tri-5, sure.
like an excuse or an asshole. Everyone's got one.
Yep. What's yours? Excuse or no? I mean,
A bit of both. Bit of both. And sometimes it stinks, but as much as I hate to say it, lately it's been the off-roading community, and
Say
I
it.
absolutely.
Please say what I wanted you to say.
Oh, I'm really curious to know what
Say
you're
it.
thinking.
It's probably the same car I'm thinking, and the one I want to say.
do it.
I love this.
I'm going to lean towards
love
the
this.
off-road aspect
Okay.
here,
Do it,
just
yep.
because that's something not everyone here is probably looking at.
Right.
But I am so tired of seeing Jeep Wranglers
Okay.
Oh, okay.
They
That's
are-
not the
yeah.
direction I was looking for.
everywhere. Wranglers
Wrangler
and
specific or
XJs.
Rubicon?
XJs.
XJs
Okay.
in particular
Okay.
are a notorious offender for
right.
they're cheap to get into. You
Yeah.
can get out. You can go most places in one as long as you're willing to put your foot down.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of these people are just getting into it. They don't have the respect for the game yet. You know, they're out there tearing up trails. They're ruining it for everybody else.
Gotcha.
How about the grumper headlight things?
Oh, give me an angry bumper Jeep and I will show you someone who has an unhappy marriage.
Oh, wow. Wow.
That is funny, dude. Wow.
All right.
But I agree.
Yeah.
It's funny.
Respect that.
I do. I hate those grills.
Mall
But
crawlers.
What were you
Yeah.
thinking he was going to say?
I was hoping he'd say 5th gen Toyota 4Runner.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, absolutely.
I
Yeah.
mean, my
Well,
gosh,
yep.
dude.
They're everywhere.
How many of you guys have even and I brought this up to my ex-wife because I think it's funny because she's like in love with hers. And she always like seeks me for approval for like mods she does. And she's like, "Yeah, what do you think?" Like it's jacked up, it's shackled, it's got lockers, all this stuff. It's cool truck. I mean, on paper.
Yeah.
But no matter how sweet that 4Runner is, I'm still like, it looks like regular traffic.
Yep. They're everywhere.
Because there's so many of them, and so many of them are modded to the point where it's a capable off-roader. It just doesn't turn me on.
Yeah, especially here
Doesn't
in the
turn me on.
Northwest with the Toyota tax.
Dude, it's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, for me, it's the 4Runner.
What
Not the
year
older
is
ones
that?
are fine. It's they made them forever. It was like a 2008 to 2019 or something,
Okay.
right? 2020 maybe.
What, third, fourth gen on those?
It's a 5th gen. So
Fifth gen,
They
yeah, the
went
5th
through
gen.
So
that.
I had a 5th gen.
Yeah.
My wife bought it.
Mm-hmm.
A year later, she wanted to get something else. So I'm like, it's still got a lot of miles left. It only had like 12,000 miles on it. So I said, why don't we keep that?
Reliable.
I'll sell the car I'm driving. We'll get you into something that you want to get into, and I'll have a car that I can drive for, another year or whatever. At 22,000 miles, I decided to sell it. So almost another year later, I sold it for $500 less than I paid for it originally.
Dude, crazy.
Right?
Yeah.
I basically
Great.
drove it for 2
take that
years
every
for
day.
free.
Yeah, it's like a rental, dude.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
for a free rental.
Yeah.
It's the old Northwest tax coming
Yeah,
through for you.
for sure.
If it's a Toyota or a Subaru, you're going to
And-
pay an extra tax here.
I sold it to a CarMax.
See, I've heard they do good pricing
Mhm.
as far as purchasing. But the thing that bothered me about the 4Runner, especially that gen compared to the Tacoma, you can get it with the same motor, and they never offered it manual, which was a shame.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the same chassis, everything, but the prices have just gone up again. Like you said, you sold it for what you paid for it, which is crazy. But for what they are, there's just nothing special about them when you drive it. It just feels like regular traffic, commuter.
It was a pig.
Yeah, they're not fast.
No.
Even when they're locked and re-geared, they still feel like not very fun. They're not a fun, exciting car to drive.
Yeah.
Way heavier, way more top heavy
Mhm.
than you think they
Yeah.
are. It was pretty
I
awful.
agree. Yeah.
There are, like you said, a bazillion of them out there, though. Just like
Yes.
they're everywhere. They kind of thought it might be a cult following car.
Yeah, I
It
think
is.
they are.
Yeah,
Yeah.
honestly.
If it starts
Yeah.
with Toyota, there is a cult behind them. I guarantee it.
And the funny thing is, women love them.
Yeah.
They love them.
Yeah. I don't quite get it myself, but it's fine. That car's not.
I'd rather see more of those than something else. Right. Like at least there's more of those because they're reliable and they're going to last for a long time. So.
It's for the right reason.
It is for the right reason. That's a good point, Max.
Yeah. What do you got, Jeremy? Anything?
Same car. It's a WRX.
Oh,
I hate seeing those on the road.
too many.
They're freaking everywhere. You blink and there's like 7 of them. The only cool thing about it, I did own one for a little while. The only cool thing about it, when you're driving one, anybody going the other way waves.
The Subie wave is real.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
it is.
Is it
That
really?
is a thing.
Oh,
It's just
without
like a
fail.
Jeep thing.
Jeep does
Wow.
the same thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I knew the Jeep. Yeah, my ex-wife. had a
Everybody,
Jeep.
if you are in a Subaru,
If you're boosted, you'll see it.
Wow.
Interesting.
I didn't know that.
just the little 2 fingers off the steering wheel, everywhere I went.
I like the camaraderie.
Yeah.
I enjoy that.
Well, it's nice to know someone else is going to help you when you blow a head gasket on
Yeah.
the side of the road.
No doubt.
No, they're just going
They know how to
wave
change
as they
that
drive by.
clutch.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, I don't know. I think for me, for road cars, because I was originally thinking race cars. What do you see too much of, and I don't think race cars, I see enough of any one car to be kind of tired of it. There's cars. Miata. I don't mind the Miatas. I don't like the rat sound and exhaust on most of them, but I don't mind them. For road cars, it's Tesla.
Oh God.
I could not ever
What a
see
good
another
point.
Tesla and I'd be fine.
Yep.
What a good point.
I don't even want to see one of those at the track anymore.
No,
Dude, has
I don't
anybody
care.
driven one?
Yeah.
I have not driven.
My
hate
mother-in-law
to say
has
it,
one.
I
Awful.
have.
It is
They're-
the most disconnected.
Yeah.
It
I
is
just-
so
just
numb.
porous.
Steer by wire, brake by
Yeah,
wire.
everything feels
Everything is
completely
weird.
disconnected
I didn't like the
and heavy. It's a
lack
heavy
of
car.
sound.
Oh yeah, very
The
heavy.
one thing I will give them is in a straight line, if you put your foot down, those
Oh,
cars
yeah.
do
It'll get it.
boogie.
Of course.
Yeah, but
Just
I
don't
know.
try and throw it into
I'd
the
hope
corner.
you can do something good
So
because
sadly,
the range sucks
Yeah.
on most of them.
Yeah.
Even when they say
Well,
it's a
and-
300-mile range, no, it's not.
you put your foot down and it's a 50-mile range.
yeah,
Yeah, that's what I mean.
And
going
Tesla-
over a hill.
Right.
Yes.
Or if
Teslas
it's cold.
across the board have run into this. Have you seen the new reviews on these
Oh
Cybertrucks?
my
The
gosh.
actual
It's
real world
nuts.
reviews?
I saw one.
I saw one today, and
Mm-hmm.
the guy was raving about it, and I'm like, yeah, right.
He will talk all kinds of good stuff, but I promise
They've
after
all-
a month of ownership,
Yeah.
he will tell you everything that is wrong.
You got to realize too, they've all drank the Kool-Aid.
I know.
yeah, yeah.
Anybody
You
who
spend that much.
pre-ordered a Cybertruck, because they're still back ordered, right?
Yeah.
So anybody that like pre-ordered one and put the $100 down, and then they asked them for $1,000 to keep their reservation. Anybody that's done that,
Yeah.
like they
They bought in.
100% in,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
they
That's
cannot
valid.
be told different because
Yeah.
it's a cult.
Well, they, like you said, they drank the Kool-Aid, but they spent 100,000 or whatever those things are.
Yeah,
110,
over
130, what are
100,000
they?
for the
Yeah.
3-motor. Yeah,
Yeah.
And I hate to say it, but if
You're
you
gonna
look at them,
you're gonna defend your decision,
right.
Yes.
right?
It's
You spend that much.
natural.
Yeah,
It's a natural thing to do.
it is.
and it's wild to me because these are people that were sold on some very specific things.
Yeah.
You know, hey, it's going to be full time, all wheel drive. You can vary it. It'll have this electronic DCCD in it. You know, you'll have lockers front
right.
and rear. And now that they've actually launched and we're looking at what options they have, almost everything is locked behind a screen. You
Yeah.
touch it, you want to lock in your diffs. Feature coming soon.
Yep, he's
Well, that's
right.
not why
I've
I
read
spent
this.
this.
Right, right.
Yeah, there's no DCCD at all right now. I mean, it's a set biased amount, right? It's like 40, 60 or something.
I think that's right.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
If you sold the whole market of it being this off-road capable, sweet electric truck, pickup truck, and it's rear-wheel drive biased, this is what you get, and that's all you get. That's crazy to me.
I will say they're decent at rolling out their upgrades though through electronic. Like,
Yes.
I do like that.
they do it.
I
No,
like that
you're
they
right.
do it over air instead
Yeah.
of having to go to the dealership
Yep.
and get a physical up.
Yeah,
And pay money, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Because
So
they'll always
there's
charge
that.
you a service fee.
Yeah.
yeah.
Well,
Yeah, that's a good point, right?
Autonomous driving feature is like $20,000. I think when it first
Yeah.
came out, it was $8,000.
Yeah, so you got to finance something that doesn't even fully drive for you?
Cost more than some cars.
Like,
Yeah.
I have to pay. I have
It'll cost more than your
half
next
a house.
C5.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think I'd rather buy a C5,
I'd rather
guys.
go get the C5 too. Yeah, for sure.
Just for the sound, I would go buy the C5.
Oh
Yeah.
gosh, dude. I
Absolutely.
mean, and everybody that's like electric rocks, see guys drag racing them, and they got a great charging setup at their house. And look, if that's your thing, awesome.
Yep.
But reality is,
Your RC car is really fast, bro.
they're limited. They're limited. It's a new technology, right? It's a new technology. You're not gonna have everything that we have capability wise with gas motors. We can do whatever we want. If we want to build it for drag, I can re-gear it. I can do whatever I want. You can't do that with an electric car.
No.
You're stuck. This is what you get, and it's fun and it's cool, but it's not a buildable project. If you're a real car guy, you don't want an electric car right now.
You
You can't lose weight either.
No,
that battery is what it
absolutely.
is.
Right.
It weighs
Good
what
point.
it weighs.
So do
and
you
can't-
think in the next 10, 15 years, you're going to start seeing them at the drift tracks.
I do. I really
hate to say
do.
that.
I hate to say it too, but I actually already saw one at the drift track back in October. It was a Hyundai Ioniq 5, that kind of retro looking thing, like a little five-door hatchback.
Yep.
And I got to say, it was getting it.
Yep.
And he was doing just fine. And it's got active suspension and all this stuff, and it was completely stock. And he put down 3 pairs of tires, no problem.
So initial thought when you saw it pull up.
He towed it in and out, though, because he didn't have a charge.
Yeah.
So you can only drive it there, do your amount of laps. Okay, it's dead. I got to put it on the trailer.
Yep, done with it.
So
what
I mean,
was your
they've got
initial
plenty
thought?
of torque. They can rip the
Oh,
tires right off of them.
and
That's
they
not a
have,
problem.
and you,
Which
it's
is
DCCD.
huge
You
plus.
can control the differential.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And they're rear wheel drive anyway. But the all wheel drive ones, you can still put all the power to the rear essentially. So, but it was cool. I mean, the only thing I didn't like about it was just the sound is odd. It's odd hearing a drift car.
Just the whine.
That's
and
all
the
you
tires.
hear
Tires,
is tires
Yeah.
screech.
Yeah.
As much I hate to say, I think electrics are coming for us all, regardless of what your discipline is. The tech ain't here yet.
No, it's
But you
not.
give it another decade, we're going to see these in every discipline of motorsports.
Yeah.
A lot is going to have to change, though. I mean, every motorsport is pushing that boundary, right? From Formula One, NASCAR's talking about it. They don't have anything yet.
Right.
But,
Look
the
at
tracks are going to have to change how they their infrastructure for fighting those fires, because
I
those
agree.
fires
Yes.
are no joke.
Right.
And that's going to be expensive for them. So they're going to push back.
right.
Extremely dangerous for drivers and spectators.
Well,
I
I've
don't know
thought,
how that's going to play out.
I've
the
often,
extra weight.
it's tons of weight,
Yeah, yeah.
tons more track wear too. Like they're going to have
True.
to treat the tracks incredibly. I mean, it's another 30%
Well, and the barriers.
And the
The
barriers.
soft
because,
barriers,
for sure.
those cars are so heavy, they will go through those barriers.
bro, the new Hummer
Oh,
weighs 9,000 pounds.
Yeah.
Can you imagine a soccer mom driving that?
I know.
It's heavier than my truck.
That'll row through
Anything.
4 parked cars.
Oh, yeah. And
That's
and
a lot of mass, and it's fast.
Barriers.
It's like 1,000 torque.
it'll go through Jersey barriers.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It'll do
Straight
whatever.
I watched the
through
Ford
that.
Lightning do that.
Yep, me too.
Yeah.
You know,
that actually scared
dangerous
the
as
shit
shit.
out of me.
Yeah, it'll do it. It'll rip right through it. But it's funny because what you just mentioned, Rob, was danger, right? Like
Yep.
track safety.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny because back in the 81, I believe, IndyCar switched to methanol fuel.
Yep.
And they
burns
did
clear.
it. Yeah. And they had incredible fires and injuries, and 2 guys died because you can't see the fire in
clear
daylight.
flame.
Right.
And so they quickly changed 2 years later in 83. And that was a smart decision. But I feel like they're going to have the same growing pains
I
with
think so.
electric.
I think so too.
Because they're going to not be able to put this fire out. It's tons of black smoke.
It's potential, though, that they can see it going in. They know that this is an issue. Those electric cars are banned from a lot of tracks already because they don't have the capability to fight
Put
that
it
fire.
out. Right.
Correct.
That's
So
right. That's
maybe
right.
they see it before it's too late or happens.
That's true.
We can learn from what they're doing in F1 because they're using electric tech.
regenerative.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
And I don't know what they do for their systems. I know they have a lot of electrical lockouts and that kind of stuff to make the car safe before anybody can even touch it. So there is technology. They're working on it. Who knows how fast that'll
Yeah.
play out into other disciplines.
And the tech for safety is coming. I'm sure it's right around the
Yeah.
corner. They're solving these problems as they come up.
Sure.
But on the flip side, if you look at the cutting edge of this, like what can electric performance get us? If you start looking at some of these worldwide rallies, things like the Dakar, things like the Audi e-tron that are coming out,
Right.
the Rimax. I mean, these are amazingly capable machines. They're nothing shy of a supercar on paper.
Right.
The only real trouble is the application. It'll be growing pains, I'm positive.
Yep.
Yes.
Agreed. Yeah. We talked a lot about this last episode too. It's kind of it's an unknown topic, but it's something everybody in motorsport is going to have to deal with.
It's interesting to talk about, right? Because
It
it's
is
something
interesting.
new, and we're all thinking about it.
Yeah.
Because of the advent of these cars and how much people are. I see more and more every day on the road. I mean, we
Yeah.
all do. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
That's why I'm tired of seeing Teslas.
Yeah, I agree. And, it's regular traffic. Most of them aren't modified. You will see
No.
one every now and again with wheels and lowered, and it looks cool. I mean,
Yeah.
it's better than standard Model S or whatever. But, most people who buy these cars, let's be honest, it's an appliance, bro.
It is.
Like they're not there to modify it. Like they don't care.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's day-to-day, like
most
you
people just want to buy a car that gets them from A to B.
Yep.
It feels like the future. It's just only this screen, and it's cool.
It serves their purpose.
It serves their purpose.
That's
right.
awesome. That type of appliance has to be there. It has to serve a purpose for somebody to go to the grocery store, or maybe they have a 10-mile commute to work, right? It's a great car for that.
Yeah, it is.
They think they're saving the world, but they don't realize how much the batteries pollute the world.
Oh,
So
they
there's
do.
all of that. But whole nother topic.
Good point. But yeah, I agree.
And now there's things like, as much I hate to say it, do you know there was a Jeep Rubicon 4xe?
Yes.
As an electric Rubicon. It's got the lockers.
Brother-in-law
it's got
has
the
one.
axles, all the toys under it
Yep.
with an electric motor.
Yeah. I like the hybrid technology.
Isn't it a hybrid?
Yeah.
Yeah, it
Yes.
is a hybrid. Right?
Yes.
I
It's
like
a four-banger?
the non-plug-in version hybrid. Even a plug-in hybrid is okay.
Yeah, I agree
I mean,
with that.
you're supplementing your fuel economy. I think that is awesome.
I
And that's
100% agree, dude.
that's really the technology they should pursue, not the full electric, in my opinion. But my opinion means zero, so whatever.
Yeah, we don't make millions of
Nope.
dollars
No,
designing
I don't get to
cars.
make that decision.
I do agree with that,
Yeah.
and I've always liked hybrids because they seem to last longer too. And
Yeah.
it's not some crazy investment,
Yeah.
because you can service them and they're still you get this great mileage, yet it's not completely doomed to this one battery pack.
Right. Yeah, well, yeah, and the charging issues.
And the
And
right.
having, if you wanted to drive 300 miles, you want to drive from Portland to Eugene, you have to stop in the middle and charge for 45 minutes.
Exactly, it's crazy.
That's a waste.
It sucks.
I'd rather just stop for 5 minutes, pour this magic liquid in my car,
Dino bones.
Some of
just
that
keep
go-go
going.
juice.
keep right on going. Some
Dino
dino
juice.
juice. Yeah. Yep. So, flip side of that same topic, okay? Is there a car we should see more of?
Yes.
Nail it. What is it?
E-tron.
You loser.
I love that.
Weren't we
They are
just
hot.
weren't we
We
just
were.
talking about how
Yes.
God.
I love that car.
All right,
That
well,
car is
you're
beautiful,
entitled
and
to your
it's-
opinion.
And what
As
do you-
much as I don't like it, you're entitled to it.
why?
So, I haven't seen one yet, except for on YouTube, right? And again, we were talking about the electrics, and as much as I like the sound of a real car, the horsepower and stuff like that, I do think the electric is the future. And that car is just fucking cool.
Is it
Yeah.
is it publicly released? Is it for
I don't-
sale currently?
Yes, you can buy
You got the Google machine.
I do. I'm not over by the keyboard.
Oh,
I had a former mechanic who his wife took one in on lease. And
An
the-
e-tron. Okay.
Yes, the Audi e-tron. And they were thrilled with it. She loved the thing. He got to drive it as a pseudo sports car on weekends. This
Okay.
was his put your foot down, go fast mobile. It ran into a lot of the same hurdles as a lot of the Teslas. It's very fast in a straight line. The thing just doesn't like to turn.
oh yeah. Is it because of the weight?
I thoroughly believe it's behind the weight.
Uh-huh.
It is a heavy, heavy car.
I mean, all electrics are, dude.
So it looks
These look
like
old.
any other sedan to me.
I 100% agree. Rob.
It looks like
It's borrowed a lot of Audi body lines.
Yeah,
There's
of
just
course.
more tech behind it.
Yeah, I mean, of course, Audi made
it's
it,
not
right?
it's not terrible.
It's not.
I mean,
awful.
so that's full electric.
you know what
Yeah,
it
it is,
doesn't
yeah.
look like?
2019 Audi e-tron for $33,488.
I mean, and that's 5 years old, bro.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
You know what that doesn't look like?
Every other SUV out there.
Every Tesla on the road.
Okay, I'll agree with that.
Well, it looks like an Audi. I
It
mean, you
does,
could
it
pick
does.
that out of the lineup.
I mean, yeah.
The problem is, put that in a lineup with every other Audi made right now and tell me which one's electric.
Right.
Yeah, it looks the
It's
same.
borrowing the
If,
same
if you
lines.
didn't see the
I've probably
if you,
seen them.
if you didn't see the slick
It-
grill
It looks like a
without the holes in
Q7,
the grill,
right?
you wouldn't know that's electric,
Right.
which is a kind of a good thing too, I guess.
Yeah, I
Looks
think
similar
so.
to their lineup.
I don't really like it when they overdo like this is such a special car, it's all electric, and they make
Right.
it look space age. It's like,
yeah,
no,
like
just
the
give me a
Lightning
regular
pickup.
car.
I don't like that.
Yeah,
I think it looks weird.
it looks like an F-150 to me.
It does, but it's more like space age. Everything's smooth. There's no
Yeah.
grill in the front, right?
Right.
I don't know.
They're trying to smooth it out so it's more aerodynamic, so it gets that one extra
Does it make
E
it
mile.
more?
Yeah.
Does it make it more
Never heard that.
aerodynamic
That's
though?
awesome.
Because like it's pretty flat up there,
Yeah. It
right?
is pretty
and if
flat.
you're putting a flat piece, isn't that more like a kite? That's
No, it's definitely pushing wind.
I would
Oh, yeah.
lean
Yeah.
towards yes and no, because in a traditional, a conventional motor, there's a lot of airflow that needs to be designed into it. You
Right.
Yeah.
That's
need
true.
that air to run through your radiator
Mhm.
and keep your motor cold.
I mean, that's a giant parachute right there. And
Yeah.
all that air coming into your radiator and catching under the hood in your engine bay, that's a parachute.
yeah.
Absolutely. So I guess that's a great question. I'd be really curious to see how these stack up in an aerodynamic wind tunnel to a traditional motor.
Yeah.
Probably
true.
better.
Yeah.
Maybe it is,
realistically.
yeah.
And it rounds
But-
the front off.
Yeah.
Why don't they put like a funnel in there and funnel it out of the sides or out of the back? Or,
What
Well, they're using that space for a frunk.
yeah.
Yep. You need the space.
It's
Yeah.
great. It's great storage space.
Funnel it into
That's
cooling
the
the
cool part
battery.
about it. Just like a mid-engine
Yeah.
car, right?
Yeah.
Little small spot for a golf bag or whatever you're doing.
Right. Yeah.
That's the
Well,
beauty
and
of
that's something, bring
Your
that up,
extension cord.
that
it. That's true.
parachute basically that you're pushing on the front of your car. Anytime that you can relieve that pressure out from under that hood for racing purposes, that's miles an hour.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Hood,
Oh, yes,
underbody,
Yep.
even.
Yep.
Have you looked underneath these new e-cars?
Are
Oh,
they
they're flat.
smooth?
It's flat.
Yeah,
Is
they're
it?
flat.
No
That's cool.
detail.
Yeah, I believe it.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing under there to catch.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean,
Yeah, they do that on purpose.
realistically, what's the most aerodynamic shape?
for sure. Flat.
Teardrop.
Flat.
Yeah.
A
But it's
teardrop
still
is the
it's
most-
still smooth.
So you're
right?
saying
Yeah.
Porsche nailed it many decades ago.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, all right. So that was an e-tron was your choice.
I
What-
like the e-trons.
you
That
you
is
got
a
one?
cool rig. There's a number of things right now I've kind of got my eye on. As far as new vehicles,
Anything.
as much as I hate to say this because I know there have been problems with them, but aesthetically and feel wise, I
Wow.
have already fallen in love with the new Broncos. The two-door specifically. The four-door was made to compete with the new Jeeps.
I had
and
one,
I
bro.
understand it.
Which
But
version?
the two-door
I had a
Broncos,
two-door 6-speed.
What year?
What version?
was it everything that I
2022.
want it to
But
be?
yeah,
Yeah.
but there's like
It was the
four different-
four-banger. I mean,
four
you
different
could only
versions.
get the four-cylinder, but it was the Badlands.
The
Okay.
Wild Peak,
Yeah, that's
the
what that's-
Badlands.
I had a Badlands.
there's
It was the best. It was the best manual it could get.
Now there's a
Now there's a Sasquatch that was
Raptor
just
and-
lifted more, but it was the same motor, same suspension.
Yep.
I had one. It was a great car.
Okay.
It was a great car. We only had it
I'm
for
glad
like
to
a
hear
year.
that because I do want to get one.
Oh, they're
actually.
great. Yeah,
And
and,
they've
the
got
manual
no-
was a great transmission. A lot of guys hated on it, but man, I loved
No,
it. It was felt awesome.
I'm good with could be because that would be a daily for me.
Yeah,
I'm good with an automatic because I just
yeah.
want to drink my
and you
coffee
could get
and
the
drive to
bigger
work,
motor.
You know,
you get
It's
the
not
bigger. You get the
yeah.
bigger motor with the auto.
Yeah,
so
that'd
that's
be fine.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah. I want the lifted. The either the
Sasquatch.
Badlands or the wilderness or whatever.
Wilderness, yeah.
the
yeah.
Wilderness.
Yeah,
there's
I
the
loved it.
Badlands,
Yeah,
I
it's
loved
cool.
it, and
That's
I
cool.
sold.
Good to
I
hear.
didn't lose $1 on it.
Nice.
I had it for a year, and me and the ex-wife sold it, and it was a great
Yeah.
truck.
That's something I'd like
It
to do
felt
in the
great.
next year. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
And the infotainment was good. We had the upgrade, the 12-inch one. It was sweet.
Yeah.
And
good.
if you're willing to make the jump in trim levels, you end up in a Sasquatch or something. The new
Yeah.
tech in them really
Yeah.
is something neat. Have you seen
is.
this new trail assist turning they've got in these things?
I've
No.
heard about it. It's 4-wheel steering, right?
Not four-wheel steering. It's really interesting. So if you pull up off-road and you're making a hard left hand, you got to get this thing to lock and come around a tree. You put it in trail assist, and it will lock the inside rear tire of your turn
Okay.
to assist.
Oh, it's
in
drag
that
you around.
turn. Absolutely, it does a pseudo dig.
Yeah.
To do it,
Okay.
and it just the technology's cool. The concept is neat to me, despite the weak tie rod ends.
Yeah. So I've heard some motor issues in the 21 and 22. I'm not sure what that's about and whether they've straightened that issue out or not. But that's something personally I want to look into before I go buy one. Maybe I just get a 23, 24 and avoid the whole issue.
And in just sitting in them, one of the things I love is they captured the spirit of the late 60s, early
The Bronco.
70s Broncos.
Yeah.
It does. It has the same feels
Yeah.
to it. Things
Yeah,
are where
it's
you
pretty cool.
expect them to be.
Nice. Yeah. No, I think that's a good rig, a good choice. I don't know personally. There's so many cars out there. Like, what would I want to see more of on the road? It's like, does it if you pick a car that you think is really cool and just like, man, I'd like to see more of those, does that make it not special anymore? I mean,
it would, yeah.
It would, but even on the things they produce a million of, there's always a special edition of them, right?
Yeah.
Right. You'd say, yeah, it's an RX-7, or yeah, it's an RX-7 FD Shinka Type R.
Yeah.
Like those couple extra words can make a world of difference in how
And value
a very
later.
specific, level, very specific trim level or whatnot. Yeah. Yeah, I guess I really struggle with that, even thinking about it for a few days. Like, what would I want to see more? It's like I'm a fan of Corvettes, C5, C6, C8Z, C8 base model. I could care less. They can all fall off a cliff. I'm good. But do I want to see more on the road? Not really. I mean,
There's a bunch of them on the road now.
there is actually quite a
less
few.
and less every day. Every day a torque tube blows up, I promise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, just because I like it, though, I guess it's like, I don't know if I want to see more of them. So it's kind of a difficult question for me to process, I guess.
Maybe you want to see more Teslas, so the other cars are cooler.
Ooh.
The Rivian's pretty cool.
The Rivian R1T, H1T are remarkable vehicles.
Yeah.
I will give them that. And especially as an off-road guy, the fact that Rivian went out of their way to say, this is our adventure truck. We put in extra cargo space just so you can haul your cooler.
I know, it's pretty cool.
Oh, it's under the seat in the back.
Oh,
That's
and they've got that
freaking
pull out.
Under the bed.
Yeah,
even.
yeah.
It's got a frunk in it. I mean, they're well equipped. They're very comfortable if you've been in one. Super impressed.
For an American-made electric vehicle, especially out the gate, that's a cool vehicle.
It is pretty cool.
The only thing is
trailers,
parts.
though.
I mean, I've seen like
Unavailable.
3 disaster stories for people getting, good fender bender, more, and it's cost them tons of time and tons of money.
Yeah.
I will say that the R3 looks cool, or the that little sedan hatchback thing they're doing. It's like
I
a
haven't seen
5-door.
that yet.
Oh,
I
dude,
haven't seen that.
pull it
Is
up.
this a new Rivian?
Would you pull it up? Yeah, check it out.
Oh, yes. Please show me this thing.
Or
that's
R2.
the Bronco I want right there, that black one.
Yeah, they're great.
Or that, the gray. That'd work.
As much as I love
Yeah,
the
the 23
Raptor,
Bronco Raptor.
I hate the shape of the
bigger and
fenders.
badder as they are, in the Northwest in particular, I would buy
I think
this
they're calling it
vehicle
the
and want a
R3.
wheel. And
Rivian R3.
Yeah.
the Raptor's just, it's too wide.
Yeah.
It's
Oh.
too much power.
Check this
It's
out,
not
guys.
gonna do
Check
what you
this thing
wanna
out.
do here.
If it looks like this out of
Driving
the
it on
box,
street, man.
It's a sand and street.
if this thing
Yeah.
looks like it,
Yeah, I'd
look
be
at
okay with
that.
Looks like a hot hatch.
That's what I'm
I
saying.
like this.
If it looks like that, like truly, like a little jacked up, cool wheels.
All right, listener, you're going to have to look that up. Rivian R3. Actually, yeah, that's pretty cool.
That's pretty nice.
Isn't that
This
cool?
this blue one down here.
I have not seen
Yeah,
one of those.
that's
on
the one I
road
want.
yet.
The
No,
back-
they're
The back of that
they
looks
haven't
like
been sold yet.
a Pinto hatchback.
Yeah.
The
I mean, it
1970
looks like a 70s, 80s shaped car. Like it
Hatchback,
almost
yeah.
looks like a Quattro Audi.
Yeah,
You know,
a little bit.
In my head, I thought electric. This is a Fiat Panda that's just
Yeah.
slightly bigger.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, and it's still got the Rivian touch. You can tell it's a Rivian.
Yeah.
Right. But it's for me, if I was going to buy an electric vehicle, if that was out today, it would be that one. Because the people who own Rivians too, they love them.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
what I've
Everybody I know that has
Pretty
one, I've
good
been on like
reviews.
three families that have them. They love it. They love it.
heard. It's ultra expensive rig, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
They are
For
they do
electric,
have a
yeah.
high
But
initial.
I bet
price
this
point.
R3, because it's a smaller sedan, it's probably
It's gonna
trying
be
to
their
get
entry
into
level.
that price point, right?
Yeah, it's
That-
basically like the Model 3 for the Tesla.
Yeah.
I would imagine Rivian's following kind of Tesla's blueprint here. Their first few are going to be more expensive. They're going to have a couple of problems.
Sure.
But as they age and they dial in the technology, they're going to be able to bring that price point down.
Yeah.
Hopefully to the everyman's price. You know, if we could see one of these guys down to 30 something,
that'd be
40
nuts.
something for an electric car,
Yep.
that puts it in the same kind of price bracket as a newer Toyota Corolla. That's
Yeah.
something
Yeah, you're
daily
actually
can
in
get.
somebody can actually buy that
Yeah,
and enjoy
they can
it.
afford it.
So something I've heard about Teslas is like their interior package is basic.
Very.
So how is a Rivian compare?
Oh, I mean,
Are they
just
more
look
like-
at it. They're
Well,
incredible.
Look down here. Yeah,
I mean,
they're-
yeah, I can see it in the pictures, but when you look at a picture of a Tesla, it doesn't look
different,
bad in the
So
picture.
I've sat in a Rivian R1T,
yeah.
and I gotta say, it felt great. The seats
Okay.
felt great. I mean, everything about it just was more driver felt like the Tesla. My buddy Ryan has a Model 3 or a Model Y. Sorry, so it's the SUV, the base model SUV. And man, I swear that steering wheel or half a steering wheel feels off center
Oh, yeah?
to where the driver position feels. I don't know if anybody's sat in one,
Mm-mm.
but I didn't really love it. And I was like,
I did. I
it
actually
just,
drove one, but
it felt weird to me. It felt like kind of off to the side, and I wanted to like adjust my body in my seat. Whereas
Yeah.
like the Rivian felt awesome for an electric car.
Did the interior, like the seats and stuff, did they feel luxury?
Much better.
It
Okay.
really does.
Much better.
It's
Higher
like
quality.
Higher quality.
the
Okay.
build quality is there. They're
It's
not
much
going to run
better.
into QC issues with these from the fistful I've seen so
Yeah.
far.
And- and
interesting.
very
Let's be honest, they're not putting out the sheer amount that Tesla is.
No,
either.
they're not.
Not
At least
even
not
close.
yet.
It's like
And
a third.
especially for the initial price point.
Right.
I would have to imagine these customers are far more picky when the vehicle gets there.
And they're probably
For
listening
that price,
to.
I would hope so.
Yeah,
Really. But
that's true.
it's not. I do like them. I think they're cool looking. Don't really know a whole lot about them.
Yeah.
I'll never buy one.
Me neither. I mean, let's look at, and it's funny you brought that up, Rob, because if you look at a 2013, even like a P85D,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
sweet, badass Tesla, fast sedan, they're like 15 to 17,000 bucks, guys.
Now,
Now,
right now, with a
10-year-old
battery.
vehicle,
Yeah.
and we've lost $85,000 worth of value.
But have you
that's
lost
terrifying.
$85,000 of performance in that?
yes,
Well, yeah, because you
Battery.
need a battery.
yeah.
And so the battery's 30 grand or 25 or something stupid. And so you can sell one with a brand new battery for 30 grand, but you're still going to lose 10 on it. And you've lost how much off the initial value?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
The one electric, and I've been watching this because I've been interested because the Model S is the worst offender. But the Lightning pickup,
Mhm.
Yeah.
they haven't lost value at all.
Not
Which
yet.
I
don't
found-
think
I've
they've been
found-
out long enough.
They haven't. That's true. But
Remarkable
Even-
considering all the reviews. We've gotten
right.
from
I mean,
them.
I gotta
Okay.
say, I've been watching it because I'm like, is this going to be like another Model S? Is it going to be like another Tesla?
Yeah.
They haven't. They're
Yeah.
still holding strong, so that's cool.
What's it going to be in 3 years? Like
Probably
when those
different.
batteries start to
Right.
fail.
Or you put 100,000 miles on them,
Well,
Okay. Yeah.
and I guess that's something.
because that's
else
when
to
the
look
Teslas
at.
start going down.
Okay.
They lose a ton of life at 100,000 miles.
With these older model Teslas, Priuses,
Mm-hmm.
hybrids, anything electric these days, if you're looking at a 10, 12-year-old battery pack, I would have to imagine in the last decade that technology's advanced.
Oh yeah,
In the same space, can't we fit in a battery that's the same size with a higher kilovolt rating?
I don't think
Are,
so.
are we going to be able to upgrade these in the future? Is that the future
I think
of
future
hot rodding?
tech, yeah, but yeah, we've talked about this.
Bigger batteries, bigger motor,
bigger,
it's like
lighter.
building an RC car.
Yeah, exactly. But who knows? Okay, so the problem is it still wears out. The batteries don't have longevity of a motor,
Right.
an engine. I should
yeah,
say.
nice ice motor.
Yeah,
Yeah.
They don't have that longevity. You can't go rebuild it. You have to put a new one in, and
True.
we're stuck with whatever Tesla, Rivian,
Shoved in there.
whoever wants to charge for this battery. So far, there's no aftermarkets that I'm aware of
I agree.
for batteries.
That's nuts.
So whatever they want to charge is what you're going to pay, or you're going to throw it away and you're going to buy another one.
But we are seeing some of the
And
EVs.
and then so you're a returning customer. Go ahead, Max.
Well, maybe
The late 80s,
maybe you get tired of it.
That's true.
Late 80s, early 90s EV prototypes.
Mhm.
Things like, back to the mini truck scene, because this is just one of the dumb things that I'm into, is Ford Ranger.
Sure.
In the late 80s, early 90s, they released a full Ranger EV that under the bed had a full battery pack. This was an electric pickup meant to be plugged in at night, commuted maybe 50 to 100 miles, and that was its day. Nowadays, I've seen a few of them pop up on my Ranger forums, and one of the big gets is, yeah, these battery packs are toast. The motor is
Yeah.
still happy.
Yep.
I've seen people swapping more modern Prius batteries into these things, and they're claiming increased range,
Mhm.
increased performance, faster charging, more
Yeah.
reliability.
Yeah. No, I can totally see where, the car community will find a way to make other stuff work. It's not
course.
necessarily right. They're using something from a Prius to put in a Ranger.
Right.
Now, weren't
That's
those
not gonna-
European? Didn't they come out in Europe? They weren't over here. Electric
no.
Rangers.
The Electric
Yeah.
Ranger was a U.S. release. It was very limited in
Must have
number.
been. I looked it up a long time ago and I thought it was only overseas.
Oh
but-
no, you'll find them
Interesting.
out here.
I didn't know that.
The last one I recall seeing, I believe, was based in California, and it was a high school shop truck that someone had purchased and decided it's time to fix it.
Yeah.
But I can't molest this very rare EV.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting.
And their fix was the Prius pack.
Sure. Yeah.
And then, what about that GM car they put out? Wasn't it like the GM one or something? It was like that electric car. They made a documentary about it.
The Volt.
No, check it out. It was
Something
the first
else?
one. It was called the GM1 or something. The GM.
GM1 actually.
Yeah, so General Motors made it. Just search General Motors electric car
Yeah.
or first electric car. They made a documentary about it. So they only offered this as a lease plan, and people loved them.
okay.
EV1. So they only offered it as a lease, and when people went to buy it
Oh,
again,
that is ugly.
No, I
as shit.
have-
oh, they were
seen
hideous.
these.
But I mean, for 96, 97, that was
Okay.
pretty futuristic looking,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
You figure
And
That's
people
kinda the-
loved them, and they worked. They had like a 200-mile range. I mean, and for considering we're almost 20 years
What
ahead.
happened to that?
Seriously. So what happened? There's a documentary on it, guys.
Okay.
What happened was they wouldn't let people buy it after the lease. People wanted them. They wanted to buy it, and they wouldn't let them do it. They actually took them all back, and they crushed them all.
Oh wow.
So that tells you the purpose, and and that was big oil or whatever.
Big oil.
Oh,
Sure.
yeah.
Or they don't want people saving money, I
Mhm.
guess. And
Something.
I think that's to that point, Max, is I don't think they want us to have too much range right now, as far as because they don't want you to have a 1,000-mile range car. Maybe there is better technology. Who knows? But they certainly want you to keep buying and keep
That is
charging
valid.
because
Yeah.
charging is expensive too.
Yeah,
I mean, at
yeah.
least costs something.
It does.
It does.
Yeah.
That's my thought on it.
Yeah.
In lines of just aerodynamic efficiency, tell me that's not reminiscent of the first generation
Probe.
Yes.
Prius.
All right.
Probes.
I think
and
it looks
Priuses,
like a
the
Saturn.
Honda Insight, I think it was
Yeah, the Honda
called.
Insight. That
Insight,
that
yeah.
was a great car.
It looks like a Saturn.
It does look like a Saturn. Well, GM,
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
GM did.
Well,
yeah.
they were right there.
Eventually.
They owned it.
yeah.
I mean, but it was basically a Saturn. They just didn't call it a Saturn.
Right.
It was the same period of time and
Sure.
same manufacturer.
Saturn made by Tupperware.
Yeah.
So we didn't touch on car you think we should see more of.
Okay. So personally,
Yeah.
this is going to be pretty niche.
Sure.
But a car that bummed me out that was released in the U.S. that they didn't sell many of because again we're back to GM. I love the 2012 to 2015 Chevrolet SS sedan.
Oh, that only flopped
sedan.
because of failure to
So it's a
market.
sedan with a 6.2 LS3.
Oh.
You could get a manual
It is
you could search it.
essentially a Holden Monarco,
or Commodore.
the Commodore.
Oh,
yes.
the Holden.
Yeah, so we
Oh,
sold
yeah,
them
yeah,
here.
yeah.
We sold them here for 3 years.
There was a guy that came our autocrosses had a Holden.
This is
So
the
I
GTO
promise it was the same
follow.
car. You
Yeah.
can you
No,
can
it is.
you can dress them like that because they came as that. So just search Chevy SS or 2014 Chevy SS.
Which the only
Follow
reason these
along,
cars
listener,
failed
follow
to
along.
sell is because Chevy failed to ever.
They never
try and
marketed
promote
it.
'em. They didn't get a Super Bowl commercial.
Yeah.
They
So,
failed to put them in just
Or
about
you
anything.
could get you come with manual. The interiors were excellent. The
Oh,
driver
absolutely.
position felt great. I have one of these. My cousin had one.
on the snort,
And they
God, got some
rocked. It was
get.
a 6.2 LS3. You could get it manual. They were 30 grand
That's
from the
a good car.
factory.
Yeah.
I think,
And
these
you could
cars
haul
are
the family in it.
See, that one looks more like the red one you had on there without the badging on the front. It's got a different grill. that one looks
you
more
could
like the
actually-
Holden.
Well,
So
they are a Holden. It's an
it
identical
is.
car.
it's the same car.
It's a
And-
buyout.
And you could get them actually from GM
Yeah.
with the Holden badges on it.
Oh, okay.
That was an
Cadillac
option.
Was
Yeah.
Looks like a Cadillac too.
It does, yeah.
little
So,
bit.
for part.
so for 30 grand out of the box, it was a great deal. You could haul a family in them. And they never marketed it. It was a total failure. And they never wanted it to be a thing. Because if they marketed it, police would have bought these or whatever. But they never did.
Front-wheel drive?
No, they're rear-wheel drive.
Really?
It's an LS, yeah, 6.2.
Can you
LS3.
still get it?
You can buy them, but dude, I'll tell you what, you cannot touch one for 29 grand.
Oh no.
Isn't that funny?
They've gone up to like 40, dude.
Yeah.
So
The car market recognized what these were after Chevy stopped making them.
Sure.
The prices reflect it.
well, it's the
Really
last
is a
V8
capable
rear-wheel drive
platform.
sedan they made.
Oh yeah.
So
I mean,
I wish they sold more.
LS3 in it. Good grief.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was cool. It was cool. I wish they sold more of them, just because I want one in like 10 years when they're maybe half the price.
Nah,
Yeah.
I agree. That's a banger of a car.
Thanks, man.
What car for you guys is a hard no?
The PT Cruiser.
Ding, 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 ding. I'm so there with you.
Has
Yep.
anyone driven one of these things?
Yes.
I have.
Good God.
I drove
no.
Valet when I was a kid, yeah.
What was the
my
other one? The
goodness.
HHR?
HHR wasn't nearly as bad.
Not as bad.
Not as bad. I had a girlfriend who it was an early PT Cruiser. It was that ugly Chrysler maroon.
Mhm.
The thing
Oh, it
was a
bad.
convertible.
Oh, the verts were
Oh.
bad. It was a bathtub on wheels.
Oh my goodness.
Was it not?
It is.
I mean, it's a freaking
totally
bathtub.
Oh my gosh.
I
that's
can't
awesome.
believe they managed to sell these
In a
things.
Woody.
Much less market.
Yeah, you could get it as a Woody too, a
Yeah.
convertible.
I
Yeah.
was so mad. And Chevy was marketing these things as a sports car.
Dodge.
Yeah.
Sorry, yes. But are you kidding me?
Don't bring
Front
shame to
engine-
Chevy like that.
Oh my gosh.
Dodge Chrysler.
There's our Chevy guy, by the way.
But
Yeah.
are you kidding? Like front engine, front wheel drive, less than 300 horse. At no point does this car become fun.
The only redeeming factor was the 2.4 GT. So they did put a pretty good motor and transmission into one of them. I mean, I'm not
So
defending
can
them.
you use that motor for something else?
Yeah. It was basically a detuned SRT4 motor.
Okay.
So that was cool. I mean, at least, you could get it manual. Oddly enough, you could get the PT Cruiser in manual GT turbo trim.
And the funny thing is, anybody that would buy one wouldn't know how to drive a manual.
No, I mean, but
Accurate.
I remember driving one as a kid, a manual PT Cruiser. It wasn't a GT, but I just found it strange that you could get a manual PT Cruiser.
It's the ugliest car on the road. It has to be the ugliest.
It's close. It's close.
Yeah.
I mean, it's up there. I'll give you that. It's top
Yeah.
3.
I think there has been a grand total of one of them that I've ever seen I would drive. And that was a Gambler 500 car owned by a gentleman in
Okay.
Woodland.
Yeah.
It's got 6
probably-
inches of lift
yeah,
on it.
Okay.
It looks kind of like a ghetto panel wagon.
It probably wasn't a convertible. I'm going to go on a limb here.
It was not.
Wow. I think we're kind of unanimous on that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Is there any other car that
Oh, yeah.
is just
I
a
have
hard
others.
no? What's a hard no?
Oh, perfect.
I don't like the Plymouth Prowler.
oh, wow.
Yeah.
I don't like that one. I don't like the HHR. And I think a Dodge Neon would be a hard pass.
Okay, so
I
neon
see a
served a
neon.
purpose.
Yeah,
though.
Yeah.
I see neons at Autocross every once in a while. People just beating up on them.
They served a
And
purpose.
see, there's a
they
couple
did.
of those I would drive, so I can't say too much.
I
I'm
think
a big
the-
fan of the Prowler.
I
I think the
it was
Prowler
underpowered
is.
for what it was, but the platform
It was
cool.
way expensive. For
Oh,
what
yeah.
It was.
Oh, it was
I mean,
overpriced.
for what they were trying to do.
and it was a V6, a dog of a V6. It was like a 3.2 V6 with like less than 200 horsepower.
Somebody needs to take one of those SRT
Hellcat
10s and put
swap
in
it.
there.
Nah.
I think they have. I think people have swapped some
Yeah.
crazy stuff into the
Actually,
Prowlers
make
now.
it into a hot rod.
Yeah, because that's what
Yeah.
it looked
Yes.
like.
Right.
Another good one, actually. I'm gonna say this, and it sucks because I'm a Chevy guy at heart. The Chevy SSR. You guys remember that thing?
I
That
do. I thought
abomination
they
of
were
a truck.
cool. I did.
Come on, Max.
Yeah.
Hey, let's pull it
not
up.
A good pickup.
Let's pull
It's
it up.
Not a good
Chevy
car.
SSR. It's not a car. It's a Ute,
It's
right? It's like an El Camino ish.
Oh, a Ute that you can't put
Yeah,
anything
there you
in
go.
the bed of if you want
That's
to
all
put
you
your
guys-
convertible top down. But
Oh, they're
I
awesome.
thought these were neat.
Yeah, see,
That was like a
it looks
concept
like
that
a-
should have never gone into production.
It looks like a PT Cruiser with a Chevy badge.
with the bed
Yes.
too.
Yep.
It's the
And a bed.
Cruiser meets
Yeah.
an El Camino.
So this was the
Oh,
Okay, the
biggest.
one on the-
pretty
This
good,
was
yeah.
the biggest
The
swing
blue
and a
one on
miss.
the left, I
Yeah.
kind of like.
Well, of course, when you
Well, that was
slam it on
modified.
wheels, dude.
It's
And you know what
modified.
else? And you know what
Looks
else
like
is
a
cool?
Aston
Even
Martin.
with an LS2, you could get it with an LS2.
The
Wow.
And
SSs,
manual.
The
Yeah.
SSs were
So I mean, at
remarkably
least
hot.
at least you could get it with a manual LS2.
I'll bet that thing's overpriced for even now.
Oh God, you
Every
can't
single
touch
one
them.
of
They
them. It
didn't
was a
make
low
many. of them.
production vehicle.
But imagine,
Yeah.
imagine unequivocally and unironically driving that one with the American flag.
whoever
And
bought
somebody
one of
thinks
these
that's
is a
the baddest
daily-
ride ever made.
Yeah, that's cool as shit.
But it's funny because it looks like a concept, doesn't it?
that shouldn't have been made.
It should have never been made.
Yeah.
I
At
feel
least
like-
should have been refined a little more.
This falls in the same category as that Plymouth Prowler, you know. It was
And-
a little
and the
weird,
PT
kinda
Cruiser.
neat, but
Because
Yeah.
they were trying to do like a retro
they
styling.
were.
I know the retro style.
relevant.
The thing I thought was disappointing about some of these cars is their size.
Mm-hmm.
Like if they'd have put that on a half-ton frame and actually made it look like an old, like a 56 Chevy pickup,
Yeah.
that would have been cool.
That would have been way
Yeah.
cool.
Really cool.
Take one of these unibodies and drop it on a K5 Blazer.
There you
Let's
go.
go have some fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, really
An
go
old
retro with it
Typhoon.
if you're going to do it.
So we pretty much got Plymouth, obviously Dodge,
Yep.
and then Chevy had a swing and a miss too.
Yep.
Did Ford ever have
What
a
was
bad
the Ford
car
flop?
like this?
In the same
Vein.
time range, maybe. I don't know. It feels like Ford stuck with the same tried and true stuff all the time. Like,
Yeah.
you know, you got the Fiesta and the Focus and the,
The F-150, the best-selling pickup in America
They're
for the last
everywhere.
25
They are
years.
everywhere.
but they run forever too.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's no, I'd be
Oh my
interested.
God.
Oh, the
That's not
Thunderbird.
what I
Okay.
expected.
No,
Yes!
the Thunderbird.
That's it.
Dude,
That's
you
it.
nailed it.
Ugly
Okay.
as
There we
sin.
go.
Yeah.
Had a small displacement V8, was
the last-
not a capable
Yeah. The
rig.
modern
Oh, it was
Thunderbird
terrible.
is ugly as shit.
I love the
was-
original.
and didn't they use the actual like 90s Thunderbird chassis too? They didn't update it at all, I heard.
No.
It was
have no
nearly
idea.
identical. It was still solid axle.
No, I think it was smaller.
okay.
I think this was a much smaller car.
Shorter wheelbase.
But
Yeah.
again,
shorter
it
wheelbase.
looks like a concept that should have never made it to production.
The only
notice-
thing I will give these cars is if you drive them with the top down, it feels convertible and fun.
Yeah. So it feels like a roadster.
Absolutely.
you know what they all have in common is how round they are.
Yeah.
Right.
They're all
Well, they
just,
were trying to mimic the 50s cars.
It's
I
the
think.
bubble.
Yeah,
Well, they were
they
trying to
were.
mimic 50s hot rods
Yes.
actually because people they didn't look like that from the factory, but people made them look like that. You know,
Mhm.
they would always do their hot rods smooth and round,
Yep.
which was cool. And they're like, "Oh, let's make it look like a hot rod from the factory." It's awful. Look at that thing.
I'd take the blue flip flops above that.
Me
car.
too.
Yes. I am both pleased and a little mad.
So
that
if we had a,
typed in Ford flops and half of your initial returns were shoes.
I mean, yeah, but at least we got the Thunderbird out of the search.
yeah.
It
that was
and
a
then-
that was a perfect search.
And it was. And the reality is, if we had a PT Cruiser, a Chevy SSR, a Plymouth Prowler, and a Ford right here,
Which
we would
one
all
you
agree.
drive?
I'll take the
Oh,
Prowler.
that's
You
a better
had to
question,
drive
bro.
one.
This
Which
sounds
one
like
would
a
you drive?
roadkill episode.
Yeah. If you had to drive one, which one would it be?
If
No
I had to
question.
drive one, SSR.
Prowler.
I'd probably
SSR,
Take
it's
the
got-
I'd probably take the Thunderbird.
It'll smoke all
if
you
the
guys.
Prowler is in that
LS2
group,
manual?
looks alone, I'd rather drive the Prowler.
Right?
Yeah, the Prowler does look the best.
Prowler
I'll
at
give you
least
that.
had that appeal.
But the SSR is going to smoke all of them,
Nobody's
Oh, God.
taking the PT
Especially if it's
Cruiser.
in a- no.
Nobody's driving that.
even if it's the 2.4 GT.
Not even.
Even
not
PT Cruiser owners right now are like, yeah, I'll drive anything else.
anything.
Out of these four.
You got a
got
shopping cart?
the Woody-
Sign me up.
The
You ever
Woody
see-
bathtub. I'm not driving that.
You ever see the people that got out of the PT Cruisers?
Oh,
They're either really old
Mm-hmm.
or 900 pounds.
yeah.
Yes, bro.
Yeah, they're pretty big.
Wow.
For some reason, must have had really good suspension in that car.
Or a lot of room.
A lot of room. They didn't seem roomy.
You know what's funny? I actually sat shotgun in a PT Cruiser
Remarkably
one
big.
time, and it was my buddy Andre, and tall, skinny, young guy. Just that was it.
That's
he
what
just
he
had
had.
one. I
Just
think
had
his
a-
parents gave it to him, so it came from an older folk.
Yeah,
But it was given to
I mean,
him.
it was
He
free.
hated it.
It was
but it was a free
free.
car.
Yeah.
And
I
it
had
ran,
one.
dude.
it probably got decent fuel economy too.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Mid-20s.
I had
think.
one as a
Cheap parts.
rental car
Yeah.
one time. I had one as a rental car one time. I had to drive it for a week. It was the worst thing I've ever driven in my life. My foot was on the floor everywhere I went.
I agree.
everywhere.
You had to just,
there is no
you
go
just had to
fast.
ring it out.
Oh yeah.
If you
I
wanna
was
get
trying
it,
to
yeah.
explode it so nobody else had to drive it.
I think if you took the Prowler out of the equation, I'd have to drive the Thunderbird.
Are you serious?
I couldn't drive the PT.
What about the SSR?
At least the
Yeah, I mean, they're in the same vein.
yeah,
At
they
least
are.
the Thunderbird
They are.
makes
Yeah.
a good noise with an exhaust.
So
on it.
does the SSR. Dude.
You
It's
could
an
put your
LS2.
motorcycle
Well,
in
the
the back of
SSR
the
probably has a
SSR.
better motor.
Oh, it's
I don't
wait,
know.
come
What,
on,
they have
it's
a
an
V6
LS2.
in the Thunderbird.
Yeah.
No, there was a V8.
No, that you
in
could
them.
get. It was a
Really?
4.6. It was a 4.6 V8.
4.6 modular V8.
Okay.
So there's the aftermarket. If you really want to throw money at them,
I mean,
out of the
I'm not
GT
throwing
Mustang.
any money at that car. If I have to drive it,
a
I'll
fistful
drive
of
it.
change, maybe.
Let's
but
be
only at
honest.
the
Let's be honest.
exterior.
Out of the box, the,
The fuel's bad
SSR
enough.
was definitely the best
Better
car,
car for sure.
I agree.
Yeah.
performance wise.
I wouldn't even throw enough money at it for a parking meter. I would just let it get towed. Just let it go.
You can have it.
Yeah.
You know what's funny? Some guy's got it in his garage right now, and he's like, "This is the sickest Chevy ever made."
I hate you guys. I
Yeah.
quit listening.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Sorry, lost that listener. Email us at untitledcarproject@gmail.com and tell us how much you hate it.
There goes our only one.
Yep.
He's selling it tomorrow.
Oh, I hope so.
Awful. All right. That was rough. Okay. So now that we've shot those cars down, what is the most American car of all time?
You starting with me?
Do it.
Okay.
Anyone. Anyone. If it just popped into your head.
Oh, I have it. I
Okay.
have it for sure.
Yeah.
Any and all generation Dodge Viper GTS.
Oh yeah.
It's a hammer, dude. I mean, it does one thing and it does it really well.
Yeah.
And the GTS with the hatchback styling,
Mhm.
elongated nose,
Mhm.
always the V10. They never sounded right from the factory. They sounded like sewing machines. But with a good exhaust and other things, they are awesome cars, and I just love the way they look. When you see one, you know that's an American car for me.
Yeah.
And it's,
No, you're right.
I agree.
Yeah. That's
And
it.
I love
That's a
GTS.
good
I like the
example.
I like the RT10 too. You know the
Yeah.
roadsters; those are cool too. But the GTS just screams.
What about the ACR?
Yeah, I mean, of course, yeah.
Of course.
Unobtainium, beyond my price range.
Right.
But God, I'd love
And
to
all
take one for a
generations,
rip.
all generations of them. As long as it's the GTS.
Yeah, I didn't see that one coming. That's a
I
that's a
like
great
that.
pull.
That is a great answer.
Thank you guys.
Yep. What do you think?
Camaro.
Oh,
Camaro, Mustang,
Most-
Vet are
What
easy
gen?
answers.
All of
though,
them?
aren't they?
well,
I like
yeah.
the new one actually.
That's-
I do too.
Those
Yeah.
Those are
to
things
me,
that
those are
have
the
been-
other
yeah.
three in the conversation.
Yeah.
Been made a
Right.
million times. There's
Yeah.
so
But
many.
you've got
variants.
you got a Roadrunner, Super B.
Yeah.
You know,
And they
how
do
many of
scream
them-
Americana.
They do.
Yeah.
They really do. A Challenger, a '70s Challenger.
Sure. I mean, if we're talking old school hot rods or old school
absolutely
American muscle
anything.
cars,
Doesn't matter.
Hellcat.
it's
would've
true.
been-
But when
Anything
you
from the
see
era.
it, you're just like,
yeah, it's true.
that's American muscle.
It's American designed.
Yeah.
You at least know it was made in America and it looks American.
Yeah.
Um,
But
beyond
I agree
muscle.
with you though. You know, you got the Camaro and the Corvette and the Mustang. I mean, Mustang
These have been iconic
screams
staples.
The beauty of it is
America.
I'm
Half a
not
century.
I'm not going to rifle on this any longer, but the Viper was a much rarer car.
It was.
And,
There's
Yeah.
a
it had
specialty to
it was a specialty. They were handmade by SRT, which was cool.
Mhm.
You know, I loved that they were handmade, just like the NSX in Japan. It was the same kind of flavor, and they weren't too expensive. I mean, they were at the time, but even still, compared to other cars, like compared to a Ferrari, 360 Modena, it was a
Yeah.
third of the price,
Yeah.
and it had all the power.
Yeah.
And looking at them now, these cars haven't depreciated
No, you can't-
nearly as much as some of the other super and hypercar competitors.
I would say they're probably going the other way. They're appreciating at this point.
They are appreciating. I follow a bunch of Viper pages because I'm hoping to snag one at some point in the next 5 years. That's a dream, but I'm gonna make
You
it
can
happen,
get one
guys.
right now for about 50.
Oh
Please-
yeah, but you
please
can
go
still
drift
see
the
them
first
pop
shit
up.
for
You
me.
can still see them pop up, even a GTS for like 35 grand.
Mm-hmm.
They sell in a half an hour,
Yeah.
but you can see it. It's pretty amazing to watch, and they just look cool, dude. You know.
So you know, our Saturday events is sponsored by the Viper Club.
Oh, cool.
So
I'd love to come out.
I'll give you the dates.
Please do.
Yeah.
I'd love to come. Yeah.
So
Where's it at?
Shelton.
Shelton.
Oh, cool.
And
Yeah.
worth every second you spend out there.
Oh, I'd love to go,
I
guys.
had so much fun the last time I went. Those
Yeah.
guys are amazing. Those cars are absolutely wild. There's
Sweet.
no way I'd have ever thought they'd have stuck like that for having all the power and all the noise.
Sure.
Yep.
Oh, I'd love to
Good
go.
time.
I can't wait.
Yep. So you pick one, or are you just gonna go with like the big three, the big four?
I don't like this answer, but I'm going to say the most American vehicle ever made was the Ford F-Series truck.
Yep.
Wow.
It has been
Good one.
produced
So, yeah,
for
you're
more
not
than
wrong.
50-something years.
Yeah.
It's been a high-selling vehicle. It does work. It's always had a big displacement
Yeah.
and a long bed option.
Mhm.
That's been a repeated, if you're a working class guy, there's a high
very true.
probability you have owned a Ford Series.
Yep.
Wow. Good one.
Yep. I mean, you can throw Chevy trucks in there too. Honestly,
Absolutely.
they've run
You
side
could.
by side.
You
They
could.
really have.
Yeah.
God,
But I didn't even consider it truck.
I've
I didn't
owned
either.
at least 5 F-Series trucks. At
Yeah.
least 5
Yeah.
that I can remember.
You've owned a lot of vehicles though.
I have.
Yeah.
I go through vehicles faster than most people go through underwear.
Yeah. That's
Like
good.
legit.
It's fun.
Daily changer.
Yeah.
You gonna pick one? What do you think? Most American.
I mean, I did say Camaro.
Did.
Okay.
I kind
All
of
right.
lumped that
Yeah.
in.
And
with
you're
the
just going to
three
go any
muscles.
gen.
Well, I mean, really,
There's not one in your head.
if you think about it from like the early 70s
Yeah.
until today, there's been millions of them made.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
It's very
Yeah.
similar
Yeah.
to the F-Series trucks, right?
Yeah, but they're
I
very
would argue-
distinct.
I would
Yeah, they
argue.
are.
Very
They are.
distinct.
I would argue that there's probably been more Mustangs sold.
Oh, I would think so too.
Yeah.
Probably also
Probably
been
in
a
the
lot
same-
more
in the
wrapped
same
around a pole
generation.
somewhere.
And
More
also
wrecked.
in my head,
Yeah.
67 to 69 Camaros are the much more.
Gen
if I was
1.
going to think
Yeah.
about American hot rod
Yeah.
or American muscle car, that's the car.
Yeah. That's
Yeah,
where the armor
American
stems
muscle.
from, right? All the way
and-
back to the 69s,
Yeah.
late 60s.
Yeah,
You're
they're
looking at
great.
Mustangs. You're looking
Yep.
at Camaros.
Yep.
Dodge has the entry of the Charger.
Muscle car.
Yeah, Chargers. Yeah.
Yeah.
This was
And that stuff
And,
does scream American.
CUDA.
That's the
I mean, the
Oh.
69,
And I-
70 CUDA was
I would
amazing.
Yeah.
I would even put
I would
the
take a
Firebird
CUDA over
in
that.
that.
absolutely.
I would
Yeah, of
lump
course.
the Firebird
The Pontiac
right into that.
version.
Heyday
Oh, yeah.
of Americana.
For sure. I mean, Smokey and the Bandit, right?
Yep.
And the
Screams
Pontiac,
America.
the Pontiac Le Mans GTI or GTS or whatever it was. That was an amazing car. It was the same
GTO.
thing. Yeah, the GTO. Sorry, yeah.
Yeah.
The Le Mans GTO is fucking badass, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And Camaro, to me, I love that car. I had one when I was a teenager. Would have again, mad that I sold it, that whole thing. But even Gen 3, like you get
Yeah.
into the IROCs and
I
stuff.
loved it.
They're very America, right?
Yeah, they are.
Even though the horsepower was down in that range of vehicle,
All of them were
it
at
doesn't
that
really,
time.
yeah, everything was. Doesn't really matter. It was still just screamed
emissions
America.
era.
But I would say early C1, C2 Corvette, though.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh yeah, I love C2s.
I like
that's
that.
that screams
Well,
America, right?
yeah, C1 and C2, both
Yeah.
of them for me. I love them. I absolutely love them.
Yeah.
I hate the C3 guys. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, it definitely went through the shark,
Yeah, it was just.
look.
I kind of.
I think they're
my,
okay.
my dad's got a
Personally, I think
C3.
they're
It's
okay.
a beautiful. He's
Yeah.
got a beautiful C3. I just don't like them.
Yeah.
The
I-
C2 is so much.
I was
better.
thinking about buying one just to add to the collection.
They're cheap.
better than the Omni.
It's the cheapest one you can get.
Right now, yeah,
right?
yeah. What's that?
I like the tech on those better than a C4. No
I
one wants
know.
to deal with Omni Spark.
It's unfortunate.
Yeah,
the
but
C4
if
was
you
kind of
upgrade to a sniper,
Yeah.
they're great.
yeah.
The
Anyway,
C4s had better suspension.
they did.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was coming around.
yeah, it's good.
Yeah, C3 was not a performance, quote unquote, performance car. It was for the time, maybe. It was a little too heavy. Like, I think the Camaro of the same era was a better handling car. Shoot, the
Agreed.
Mustang was a better handling car
I agree.
because it was lighter.
It was lighter,
But
smaller.
bonus points,
Yeah.
factory option for side pipes.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
true.
cool.
Burn your leg every time you get in and out.
That's right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Take a date in that car. Burn her leg. Date's over.
Catch her dress
You're
on
not.
fire.
You're not
Let me
getting
get you
any
out
that
of
night. It's done. You're like never gonna see her again. Yeah, yeah. That's a loser. Oh yeah, don't want to do
Funny,
that.
dude.
Last topic. Last topic. Coolest car related thing you saw this week.
I knew this was coming.
Yeah, this is gonna be a weekly thing.
Yep.
No. Easy
Go
get because
ahead,
I
please
did not
start
know
us off,
these were a
Max.
thing until this last year.
Okay.
And I'm very excited. Classic Volkswagen enthusiast at heart. I've owned a couple of air-cooleds. I've gotten into my water-cooled game.
Nice.
I was unaware that the Volkswagen Boonie van was a thing. It is built on a Volkswagen Bug chassis. and it almost looks like the old.
It's like a truck, right?
It's a van. It's a weird
It's like a
van.
panel
It's called a
van.
boonie van.
A boonie van.
Okay, we're looking that up.
Ta-da!
Oh,
Whoa! So it was a kit, I'm guessing, right?
It's a
It was a kit.
fiberglass body.
Yeah, it was a
put
kit
on
car.
a bug chassis.
that
That
looks
is,
like
that,
a.
that is wild.
Well, it makes sense now because it looks
It's
like
just-
an Overland vehicle. Doesn't
and it
it?
makes you laugh.
Well, a little bit.
They're a little
Like
doofy.
I love
The
this
aero-
one right up here.
I
The
want to.
aerodynamics of that.
Oh,
I wanna-
worse than a Jeep.
qualities of a brick.
I want to put
Yeah.
a surfboard on top and drive it on the
front,
beach.
that'd
the
be
front
perfect.
angled like A pillar.
Yeah,
You got to imagine that does great for gas mileage.
yeah. Just that flat,
No, but I
flat piece of glass across the front.
I like it.
Yeah, I do.
I
too.
didn't know that was
I
a thing.
I
And it's a
loved
bug.
I liked all the Volkswagen kit stuff. Like you guys remember like the other kit cars? They made like the ones that look like a
What was
gull
the-
wing car.
What was
Wasn't
the
there
dune
gull
buggy
wing?
thing that they had?
Yeah,
the thing.
Wasn't
that what it was called?
the
The thing
things.
was the
well, there was
Type
two.
3.
There was
There's a
two.
guy in the,
Okay.
there's a
Slightly
guy
different.
locally I know that has a really nice thing. Maybe you guys should bring him on. He's fun.
Okay,
It's a beautiful thing, but
that's not something you want to hear another guy
it's
say,
very
but
nice, dude. It's very nice.
beautiful thing.
It really is, dude.
We're trying to keep our last listener.
Maybe not.
We
Okay,
just jumped
whatever.
past our
But
PG rating, or
you know, they made a bunch of kit cars like this. Like I think there was like a gull wing like sports car
there were a lot of body kits. and
body
stuff
kit. It
made
was,
for
Yeah.
and then the straight dune buggy, like you said, that
Yeah.
was cool.
the
Very
Type
cool.
3.
They called it the
Myers
Manx. The Manx.
Yes.
Okay.
And Myers Manx was a slightly different thing. Long story short, Mr. Myers was actually a gentleman. Sorry about that.
Phone call.
Was a gentleman who got into long
Got it.
distance dune racing. He got into, I believe it was the Baja 1000 is where he came to his rise. And he had taken a couple of these Volkswagen chassis, put a modified fiberglass body on them, souped up the motor, and decided he was going to go compete. Well, the first year he went out, there was such a good reaction to this vehicle that he couldn't stop making them. He had to go bigger. He had
Yeah.
to go badder. And it eventually turned into a multi-year run on these Manxes. And nowadays, it's iconic. There are kit cars
You look one of those.
for a Myers Manx.
Oh, they're great. So when I think of a Volkswagen dune buggy, it's a Manx. They're great. It's a MANX, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
MANX.
MANX. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's the one I was thinking
Yeah,
of.
me too.
Okay.
They're sweet.
They're
Yeah,
ultra
I see those
lightweight.
every
They
once in a
don't-
while. Actually,
I
was
love
in-
the hard
I
top
like the new
version.
take on it.
Yeah, the hard top.
Yeah,
Oh, that's pretty
neat.
cool.
2024 2.0 electric.
I
I
was-
heard about that. I have not seen anything on it.
I was just,
I would just-
in Hawaii a few weeks ago, and I was walking down the strip in Waikiki, and there was an impromptu gathering of these Myers Manx.
Whoa.
Yeah, there
All
was
6 of
5
them
or
on the island.
I think it was 6. Yeah, honestly, I think there was
Whoa.
like 6 of them, and they were just like driving the strip, and
That's sweet.
you see that stuff. That weird stuff happens in Hawaii for some reason.
Yeah, they have
Just
a big
impromptu
car scene.
weird stuff.
Well, they have
they
a
do have a
big
big
car
car
scene.
scene. Yeah,
And
but yeah,
I
just saw
love that.
a big group of them.
They really should have put this in Jurassic Park.
Wouldn't that have
Oh,
been
Grant
fun?
would just love it. He would
know,
just go off.
I think my
Yeah,
car.
that EV one that's pretty sweet.
Oh, they do, especially like the hard top thing.
Yep.
We
It's
should
still a
definitely
buggy.
delve more into that because that is sweet. If that's a real thing that's moving into production, I can get behind it. I
Yeah.
would throw 30, 40 grand at a toy like that.
Oh boy, Here
Myers
we go.
Manx 2.0 EV. I
Yeah,
don't think it's
yeah,
happening. The coolest news I saw this week was Toyota is, and of course we're probably not going to get them in the U.S., but they're doing a Miata fighter
Oh,
called the Toyota SFR. You should search this one too because this thing looks cool. It looks a little funky in the front end, but
I mean
it's
they already have
the
the
FRS,
FRS, yeah,
or they call it the GT86 now.
right, the 86.
But this thing is sweet.
SFR. Okay,
Look at
All
this
right.
thing.
Interesting.
I like that one.
See,
That's
I
very
love it.
Miata-esque.
It is, and that
Comes
they
with a gooseneck wing.
and it.
At least that one does.
Dude,
Yeah, so it's. I
would
guess
drive this.
Oh, full
I'm
send.
saying so. They're building it. It's going into production. They just announced this week they're doing it.
Well, we're gonna
and
see
so-
that at the track.
Man, I can't wait to drive one because I
We're gonna-
love the way that looks. I love the B pillar, and I love how it's like disconnected. It looks like a Roadster, even though it has a hardtop or a T-top on it.
One of these in a GR version. Oof.
Oh yeah, the
my
GR,
goodness.
dude. Wouldn't that be cool? Maybe with a little. It's got the turbo 3-pot too.
I was
the
gonna
one
ask
out of
what-
the
if there's
Yaris,
any
or
specs.
the one out of the
Little
Corolla.
BMW
So you guys have
6-cylinder.
seen the new Corolla GR, right?
Oh, yeah.
No.
All-wheel drive turbo.
Oh, wow.
Amazing.
3-cylinder.
Gorgeous.
Wow.
And they handle. It's great. All-wheel drive. It's driver controlled center differential.
Wow.
Sweet. And you can't buy them under or at sticker. They're all like freaking
Yeah,
nuts.
That's the
You know.
only
40
problem.
That
with them
happens.
is They know
Yeah,
what
I
they're
mean,
worth.
Yeah.
right, and they're not making enough of them because everybody wants one. But this thing has the same motor in it,
That'll be really cool.
so it's gonna rip
I mean,
at
This'll have
300
that 300
horsepower.
pony
Oh, my
3-cylinder.
goodness.
Look at
Yeah.
that. Does this thing have a
Oh,
full
that's going to
aero
be a
underbody?
killer.
So this is like the
Yeah,
one
that
that
one.
this was like the yellow one you're looking at. That's the more production based one, but they are gonna be making something crazy like this
I
one.
want to probably be the GR variant.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
That's really cool. That's awesome.
I saw that this week and I was like, oh my gosh, if they send this to the
like
States, I'm gonna buy one.
That's very cool.
All right.
It's a cool little car.
Right on.
Okay. I saw on Instagram an A-Team van.
Oh.
Slightly different colors. It
Yeah.
had a gray on top, the red, A-Team stripe, the black bottom, but it had gold spoke wheels and it was slammed.
Oof,
It was probably one of the coolest things I've seen this week.
That's
that
funny.
is awesome.
The other thing is there's you remember the Kit?
Kit.
The old what was that show called?
Yeah, Knight Rider.
Knight Rider.
Yeah, yeah.
There was a thing that you can buy for your car that
Has
is-
the little talking.
It's all that
Yep.
the buttons and shit. That was the other cool thing.
That's funny. Here in Portland, there is an A-Team van
Is
all
there?
blacked out with the red stripe and the whole bit. Yeah, and it's actually in good shape. It's not like beat out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
I've seen it a few times.
I was
That's
about
sweet.
to tell you there are
I
at
love
least two
those.
of them, but
Yeah.
you said not beat up. The other one I've seen is a Gambler 500.
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The guys have converted it to an A-Team van.
Yeah.
It's a mid-90s Aerostar.
Oh,
Very
not
impressive.
quite.
I don't think that's
Not quite
it's
a
not
legit-
the Chevy G.
Yeah.
It's there in spirit. They're there to
Right.
party.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
for
cool.
sure.
And I like how they play on stuff like that. And
Yeah, yeah. That's pretty cool. Best thing I saw this week was a 1950 Studebaker truck.
Ooh.
Slammed to the ground. You can look it up.
Please.
Yeah, just a 1950 Studebaker truck, lowered if you. Yeah, and it was
I
Love
kind of
love
a
the
cream
Studebaker nose.
colored, just gorgeous truck.
cream color, dude.
Cream,
I
yeah.
love that, dude.
Yeah,
Shaped
Yep.
like that.
Like that.
Whoa.
Yep, like that. Not,
That's
No,
wild.
that's
It
got,
didn't have
that's
that
got
grill.
some
That's a
weird. That's
custom-
got some weird headlights.
yeah, that's a
That's
custom
some
grill,
odd
but
custom
it was
stuff.
Go to the cream
it was
one.
like this one lowered down like that.
Like the cream. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, on the
over
left
there.
middle. Let's look at that one.
Oh
There
yeah,
you go.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Yep.
look at that.
that one's got
thing.
drag
I
slicks. and
love
stuff on
that. And it's got the
Yeah.
Nerf bar. Yeah.
Blower sticking
Yeah.
out the
It had
Oh
that.
my
It had that
God.
same grill.
That grill is amazing.
Yeah, yeah,
the 3-bar, yes.
3-bar,
yep.
4
That's a good looking
slot.
truck.
Just gorgeous.
Oh, it
Gorgeous truck.
is.
Yeah,
And the
I-
lines of it.
I was just
Look
kinda-
at how, it's so many steps and round. I love it.
Mhm.
There's some potential there, man.
Potential. That
Damn.
thing's
That thing looks great
Oh, I'm
out of the
Done and
box.
done.
I'm looking at the
Beautiful,
farm
yeah.
truck up
done
there.
and done. Oh, the
Yeah, I like the mint green one up
Like
top
that.
left too.
yeah. Oh, the red one next to it. I mean, there's a really awesome body style,
That one's
Yeah.
a wine.
Studebaker.
That's sweet.
and I
Oh,
think
it's
they
got the
only
double row grill. That one.
only built that for like 3 years. I think it was 50 to 53. I
I
could be a
believe
little off on that, but
Studebaker
it wasn't-
was
it
very
wasn't
much.
specific.
You know what I
on that.
like
Almost
about? I
every
love
couple
that
of years
line.
religious.
I love
Yeah.
the factory line between the bed and the cab. You see that little
Mhm.
that little 4-inch drop down between the cab
Yep.
corner,
Right at the
Yeah.
very
yeah, at
front
the
of the door.
top, yeah, at the
Yeah.
front of the door. Wow, that is cool.
yeah, that mint green one is awesome.
One last one just to ruin your mind.
Okay.
Classic Volkswagen's got me chugging along. Have you ever seen a Volkswagen Super Bugger?
Super bugger.
Super Bugger. This was
I've
a
seen the
Volkswagen,
Super Beetle.
Similar concept. It's
Okay.
a Beetle chassis. They
Okay.
actually converted to a small micro camper.
Oh
Oh,
my
yeah,
gosh,
those
there
are
it is.
sweet.
These are the
That's
neatest thing I've ever.
hilarious.
If I'm gonna buy an RV in the next 10 years,
That's
it's one of
Max.
these.
I could so see you driving around one of those.
The Toyota 110.
Oh, the Chinook. Yeah.
The Dolphin, dude.
Yeah.
Ooh,
it was the Dolphin.
even better, yes.
It was the dual axle. Yeah, the dually.
Yeah.
Freaking sweet Toyota camper. It was on a full ton chassis.
Oh wow.
Still with the 22 RE.
Yep.
That's
Oh, you
excellent.
kidding me?
No.
Really?
Yeah, you could buy them.
Wow.
Yeah, it was
I'm not gonna go off Max's thing because I honestly hate Volkswagen. I truly do. I hate them. But have you ever seen a Volkswagen SP2?
No. We're about to
So
find out.
we never
Keep up,
got them in the
listener. Keep up,
States.
SP2.
We never got them in the States. They're sweet. It's an air cooled. It's two coupe.
Oh damn.
And
Very-
we have a guy around here. The same guy with the thing has one of these.
Okay, so this looks like
They are sweet.
Pantera meets Porsche.
Yes.
Well, Porsche, but also 270 Z.
Yeah, Z, right? It
Um,
looks like a Z.
S2, not
No,
S2000. What's the Toyota 2000?
2000 GT.
2000
Oh,
GT.
gorgeous.
There you go. That's
Yeah,
what it
love
looks like. A
those.
little bit like that.
So they only sold
That's
them in
beautiful.
Brazil.
That is beautiful. That looks very much like a Pantera
The
Porsche.
back of
It
it,
does
reminds
look
me
like-
of a
and-
Henry J.
Yeah.
It does, and it kind of gives you a little
at
AMC
that rag
vibes,
top.
doesn't it?
A little
Yeah.
bit.
Doesn't it give you the round
It's got-
AMC
Okay.
vibe?
There is
I'm
so
also-
much going
I'm also
on
getting
with
some
this
Corvair.
car.
Yes, Corvair.
Corvair headlights.
Windows.
Oh, for sure. The Corvair headlights, for sure.
A little bit of Scirocco.
I
Yeah.
did not know
Yeah,
these were a
Scirocco.
thing.
That
I'm
thing's
very
got
glad
so
you
much,
brought this
so many
up.
different cars in it. It's
Isn't that
crazy.
cool?
That is
So
awesome.
we have a guy here in the local that
Really?
works on elevators that has one.
What year?
It's
Like
like 73 or
73 or
something.
4?
Yeah, it's like a
Get
73.
that number.
No doubt. Talk to that guy.
Yeah, it's a cool car.
Did he import it from
He
Brazil?
just imported it like
Just
a year
recently?
ago.
Oh,
Yeah, it's as soon he
Yeah.
got one. He got one.
Ooh.
that's
And he's
awesome.
got a thing too, but he's just an air cooled guy. I mean, that is the ultimate air cooler. If
That
you're
is
talking
a
to
really
me,
neat car.
That's
That is a really neat car.
That is sweet.
yeah, nobody even knows they exist.
No,
Oh, yeah, I've
I've
never
never
seen
seen
it.
that.
It's another
look at
interesting
the one
thing to
down
touch
there.
on.
Fascinating.
We've just hit the 25-year rule. What
Yeah.
it is for import.
Yes.
Yeah.
If you could import any vehicle, unlimited time and money right now,
Yep.
have it on your doorstep tomorrow, what do you get?
Well, it's
Skyline.
cost an option.
No, he said unlimited
Infinite
money.
time and money.
Infinite
Try
time
and
money.
hit it as close to that 25-year mark as you can. Like, what's new and hot? What should people be looking to import?
Oh, looking to
New.
import everything that's worth importing.
Well,
they are importing. And they're
yeah.
Yeah.
sky driven in price.
Right. I mean,
There's nothing-
86 Testarossa.
Yeah, bro.
God, yes.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a childhood poster car for me, right?
It
I'd love
is.
to have a
Testarossa.
You
Testarossa.
went to the
Right.
Scholastic.
I was a-
Book Fair,
I
you
was-
got your 10
I was a
Yes.
Diablo 2 guy.
Yeah.
the Diablos,
the VR.
Well,
Countach.
Countach is more my era, but yeah.
Yeah, same idea,
Yeah,
right?
same
but
idea.
yeah, I mean,
I don't know
mine
that I
was
could
just,
own
one
Countach,
generation
though.
later, right?
Right.
15, 10 years later. So
Yep.
it's like, that,
Exactly.
it was the same idea though, you
Yep.
know?
For sure.
Love the Diablo 2.
Yeah.
Gorgeous.
Yeah, that's where it's at. I don't know enough about, like, I didn't even know this car exists, this SP2.
I had no idea.
neither.
This was
So
a thing, but
there's
I love 'em.
probably, yeah, I love that. That
It's
is
like
fantastic
a
car.
long gremlin.
Yeah, like I said,
It's got
AMC
so
vibes.
many cars
It's got
in it.
AMC vibes.
It does. I don't know enough about cars in either Europe, Brazil, other countries to
Look at that.
pick one out of a 25-year rule.
For me, I mean,
to have it imported. I wouldn't even know what to do. Yeah.
wow, look at that one.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
Oh,
Oh,
that is
Okay.
cool.
Yes.
Yeah, so my 25-year car for sure right now, and you see them a lot on the roads now, is the Toyota Mark II JZX 100.
Okay.
It came with a great motor from the factory. Get them 5-speed, nice, slim, smooth-looking sedan, but they're $30,000 with the factory manual and 1J.
Yeah.
And 10 years ago, you could buy one and store it until it was legal for like $8,000.
Yeah.
And now they're just
It's the foresight to do it, though.
exactly.
Yeah.
So
Getting
guys who
ahead of
did
that
it,
tax.
and there's plenty of guys that did it. All the guys that are selling them, the ones that are ready to go, and
Yeah.
they're making so much money. Dude.
They just knew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a sacred car in the JDM culture. The JZX 100. Everybody
Gotcha.
loves them.
Got you.
It's just a cool sedan, and if you put a body kit on them, they came with a great motor. They're just sweet.
Yeah.
So that's my 25-year car.
nice.
like that.
What do you think? Do you have one? Like I said, I don't know. I just like
25-year car.
Testarossa would probably be it.
I mean,
25-year car that we couldn't get here.
I
Yeah.
would have been into the Japanese market, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Probably Skyline, Supra.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, this was the first year of the R34.
Right hand drive. Anything.
This was the first one of the
Yes.
R34.
Yeah.
Probably some RX-7 that you couldn't get here that would have been.
Mm.
Mazda
money.
was kind of out of the game, but Nissan had the S15
Nissan.
Sylvia.
Yeah,
which was
Sylvia would be
gorgeous.
nice.
Indeed.
The
I
S15
love
was
that.
amazing.
Yeah.
Dude. Have you seen one, Rob?
I have.
Yeah, they're sweet.
Yeah.
They look good, dude.
That's
I think
crazy.
if money was no object, I don't know if I would go looking for cars though. And I think I mentioned this in one of our other shows, but like if I had a pocket full of cash and a container that I was going to ship back from somewhere, I would drop it in Italy.
Yeah,
And
oh
I'd
God,
load it
yeah.
with Lamborghini
Right. All their- I mean-
tractors, not cars.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
Lamborghini
load it with
tractor.
Lamborghini
tractor.
tractors.
Yeah,
we
Killing.
did cool stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't hate Italian cars.
I-
I mean, yeah, they're
I love
expensive
the
to work
car.
on.
I hate to
Sure.
work on them.
Right, and they're expensive parts, and they're not reliable, but they're so good looking.
Yeah, they really are.
I mean, even
A
the
lot of them.
Fiats,
Mm-hmm.
even the old Fiat coupes and stuff, they're awesome.
Yeah.
My
Some really
grandma
cool
had
stuff.
a
They're just
convertible
cool.
Fiat growing up. That thing was the coolest car.
Yep.
See, I mean, I'm saying
Even
I would
now,
love
have
one.
you sat inside the Fiat
Grant's got that
124
Fiat
Spiders?
X19.
Not the
Oh,
new one.
really?
Yeah,
I
he's
love the
restoring it.
X19. It's a mid-engine,
Italian
right?
MX-5.
Oh my god, those are cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Love those,
Yeah.
especially with that stripe down the side. When they
Mhm.
said the X19, yeah, those are
Yep.
cool.
Yep.
I didn't know you had one. That's cool.
Yeah. Actually, it's got a donor and one that he's almost done with.
And then the Lancia, you remember those?
Lancia.
Lancia.
Yeah.
Those are
Yeah, yeah.
sweet.
Yep.
They made a mid-engine V6 car.
Crazy rally car.
we are
They
Yeah.
rally the
Oh
crap out of us.
gosh,
Yeah.
dude.
We're approaching Class B Lancias. We're talking Delta Integrales.
I love the Delta. Of
and
course, it's the hot hatch of the
Stradales.
hot hatches.
Right.
And then the Stradale. But I'm talking about even the one they sold here, the V6 GT.
Oh yeah.
Freaking awesome. It was
Yeah.
a mid-engine V6 manual car. We had them here.
Yeah.
And everybody
Can you
just
find
looked right over them.
Can
Yeah.
you- yeah.
Hey, you can
mean,
buy them. They're in terrible shape, but
so
you can
was
buy
the
them.
No, yeah.
Toyota Previa, but I don't see people getting in lines to snatch them up.
No, but this was an actual, mid-engine, like, fastback car.
Sports car.
It was a sports car.
Yeah.
And nobody
That's
even
cool.
cares about them.
That's
And we
cool.
had them here.
Yeah.
Any Ford Cosworth.
Oh, yeah.
Oh God! If it's got a Cosworth badge, sign me up.
Same.
That's one of my top 5 cars.
Rear-wheel
all
drive,
time.
all-wheel drive, front-wheel drive, I don't care.
Yeah.
I mean, they're all
Just
sweet.
bring it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome.
Dream Garage includes an RS 2000.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. No doubt. All right. One more thing for you.
All right.
When's your next event?
My next event is July 10th, or
that's
it's
my
the
birthday.
weekend. It's the weekend after the 4th,
Okay.
and it's I'm
So
going to
that's not
Villains.
the 10th because the 10th's a Wednesday.
Okay, so it's the 12th.
Somewhere in there.
It's the 12th through 14th.
Okay.
It's at Villains Sportsland, which was that drifter-owned track I told you about up in Walla Walla, and it's a weekend Matsuri, so it's Friday, Saturday, and even in Sunday morning they're drifting. And it's a great time. Spectatorship is like $10, and you can camp for free.
Yeah.
So it's a great event. Every event they throw is amazing.
That's cool.
So I'm going up there to Walla Walla. It's kind of a drive, but it's worth it.
Got to have the car ready.
Yeah, it'll be ready. I mean, I'm gonna have it on the road this weekend.
Nice.
Thank
Nice,
God. I'm
nice,
so
nice.
excited.
No,
I mean,
that's cool.
bodywork doesn't keep you from driving, right?
No, it's gonna be done. I'm wet sanding it right now.
Yeah.
I just got to put headlights back in and all that stuff. So it's close.
Do you have social media?
I do, yeah. My name on Instagram is ian.feint, F-E-I-N-T. So IAN.FEINT. And you can follow my build and my life there.
Cool. Will do. We'll link up on Instagram.
Sweet, dude.
Ours is Untitled Car Project.
Sweet.
That's our Instagram. And what's the Instagram takeoff? At whatever theme
Threads.
threads.
Yeah, you guys got the reds.
Threads.
Cool. Oh, wow.
Yeah, we got the threads.
That's
I
awesome.
think we're still failing on Facebook.
Yep. Yep. I think
Everybody's failing on Facebook now,
Oh,
bro.
yeah.
true.
there.
Yeah. Max has got a Facebook.
I do. I have an old Instagram.
Do you?
Amnesiac_0 if you just want to get eyes on the Subaru project.
Oh, what is it?
Amnesiac_0.
Oh, cool.
All right. We'll look it up.
I'll definitely check that out.
Excellent. And yeah, you can email us, untitledcarproject@gmail.com. We've got a Twitter, Untitled Car Pro. And
Yep.
that's the show, guys. Thanks for coming in. I really appreciate it. It was great.
Absolutely, man.
Thanks
Thank you
Awesome.
for having me.
Awesome to learn about some drifting. Max, you got to get that car finished.
Yeah, I'm working on.
Well,
on it. Have
yeah.
me back another episode.
I
I'll
will.
tell you all about the off-roading I've been doing in the meantime.
No, that sounds good.
Yeah,
We'll do that.
absolutely.
Yeah, that's
We're,
awesome.
we're always looking for return customers.
Sure. Yeah. Yep. Follow us on Spotify or whatever other apps you're using to listen to podcasts. Just hit the follow button and follow us on Instagram. Be awesome. Reach out if you got a project and you want to hear about it.